wanna fight no more. And the other gunslinger thought about it, and he said, yeah, what are we fighting for? I'm taking control of my life. I'm taking control of my life. I'm taking control of my life now, right now. Oh yeah. Well, the crowd that assembled for the gunfight were let down. Everyone hissed and booed, and the stranger told his missus, that's the last one of these gunfights you're ever gonna drag me to. I'm taking control of my life. I'm taking control of my life.
Sorry, I was singing along with Mr. Tom Petty, but we're starting to fade out Mr. Tom Petty, no pun intended, for the reason we play a Petty song to start the show today. I chose my personal favorite. I don't know why. Two Gunslingers from the album Into the Great Wide Open always resonated with me as it did. Petty has got a whole bunch. I mean, a whole whack of terrific songs to choose from, but I always enjoyed that one. And it often made me ask the question, which was the better album? Full Moon Fever or Into the Great Wide Open? I think Into the Great Wide Open is underappreciated. Nonetheless, we start with Tom Petty today because it was on this day in 2017 that we lost Tom Petty. He was found unconscious at his home and declared dead at hospital several hours later in Los Angeles County. He had died accidentally, according to the coroner, from mixed drug toxicity. In his career, Tom Petty sold more than 80 million records worldwide, making him one of the best-selling music artists of all time. Who could forget his time as well with the supergroup, the Traveling Wilburys? We could go on, but we recognize and acknowledge the passing of Tom Petty on this day, October the 2nd, back in 2017. On the note of me picking my favorite Tom Petty song to start the show today, in honor of the late Tom Petty, you get to pick your favorite songs on Fridays for this show, right? All Request Friday, every Friday, we'll play a snippet of your favorite tune, your theme for this week, your challenge, should you choose to accept it, in honor of our Blue Jays, who start their divisional series versus either the Red Sox or the Yankees on Saturday. We're going to celebrate the Blue Jays by picking songs on Friday for All Request Day that are blue. It is totally up to you. I don't want to take away your creativity because you always impress and amaze me, but I'm thinking, I don't know, Blue Oyster Cult, Deep Blue Something, Blue Rodeo, or maybe a song like Sweet Judy Blue Eyes or Don't It Make Her Brown Eyes Blue. You'll figure it out. I know you will. Counting Blue Cars, I think that's another one. Anyway, the theme for All Request Friday, Tamara, is blue. You figure out what that means to you. But if it ain't blue, it ain't going to get played on All Request Friday. You can always drop me an email, mike@570news.com, and we'll get your request played for you tomorrow, or when you call in to talk about the many things we will be talking about on the show today, then you can let us know then what song you would like to hear on All Request Friday tomorrow. Blue is your theme. I think it's a pretty broad theme. We'll find lots of blue songs to play during the show tomorrow. I am feeling a little bit blue this morning because the honeymoon is over, and I do mean over, in the Farwell household. We had our first marital spat last evening, and wouldn't you know, the irony of it all, it was on our 3-week anniversary. Oh my goodness, it hurts my heart. Like 3 weeks and the honeymoon's already over. Well, and you know how it goes when you're an old married man. You know, the wife and I had a little spat last night, and I'm going to talk about it. I still think I'm right And I know you're laughing already that I think I'm right in this, but ding dang it, gosh darn it, I'm right. I'll get to that story just around 9:15 this morning. To some news of the day, though, that we should talk about a little bit. Our reporter, Jamie Pulfer, reporting during All News Mornings today about the CEO of Canada Post issuing a letter acknowledging that Canada Post Corp does have a commitment to us Canadians. In his letter, he notes the following. Less than 1 in 4 Canadians still receive door-to-door delivery. Less than 1 in 4. 77% of Canadians already have their mail delivered to a box that's not attached to their home. The list of rural post offices was created 30 years ago and has not been updated since. Thousands of employees are eligible to retire from Canada Post over the next 5 years. So if they want to be a leaner operation, they could maybe look to those soon-to-be retired employees and minimize the impact on the staff. And CEO of Canada Post, Doug Ettinger, also notes that Canadians have changed the way they use the postal service, and Canada Post must change with them while understanding the importance of service to small businesses across the country. I don't know if this fills you with any degree of optimism, but my goodness, it is at least an acknowledgement, it sounds to me anyway, on the part of the CEO of Canada Post that some sort of change is required. Just ahead of our Farwell Show 5 this morning, and oh my goodness gracious, please, stop what you're doing and just hang around for the Farwell Show 5 this morning, because one of the items about a local chef who's going to be competing for a $100,000 prize in a cooking reality show. I can't wait to introduce you to this woman who will be on the debut of that series tonight, or the season premiere of it. I'll get to that in just a moment. But one of the other things I wanted to share with you is around our speed camera program here in the region. And we know that Ontario Premier Doug Ford has said enough is enough. These things are nothing but a cash grab. And I'm going to introduce legislation to ban speed cameras. But we have had speed cameras in our community for quite some time now. They are catching speeders, issuing 56,000, just under 56,000 tickets in their first 6 months of operation. And how about this little tidbit from Wilmot Township Council just the other night, when Mayor Natasha Salonen pointed out one of the speeders. In fact, it turns out that this particular speeder in New Dundee got the dubious distinction of being the biggest of all the speeders in the region since the cameras were installed.
New Dundee's speed camera picked up the worst offender, going 142 kilometers an hour in front of New Dundee Public School at 11 a.m. on a Tuesday. So I know that there's lots of controversy and questions over the program itself, but speeding does exist, and in some cases at really extreme speeds in our own communities.
142 kilometers per hour in a 40 zone. That's like 100 over, and that ticket's worth more than $2,000. But just imagine. So, as Mayor Salonen points out, we may not like our speed cameras, but we certainly are going to agree that we don't like drivers like that either, do we? Oh, my goodness gracious. That is somebody that deserves not only their $2,000+ ticket, but a direct sentence to jackwagon jail. Do not pass go. Do not collect 200. You 142 in a 40 zone go directly to jackwagon jail, and you stay there. We don't let you out. We are full of crime and punishment in jackwagon jail, and you can just stay there and rot as far as we care.
It's the final countdown.
All right, let's get to your Farwell Show 5 here this morning. Just ahead of how I messed up. I didn't mess up. I was right. I'll tell you, 3 weeks into our marriage, little spat already happened last night. Number one on your Farwell Show 5. Focus here, Farwell. Police in northern England say 2 people are dead, 3 others in serious condition after an attack outside a synagogue on Yom Kippur. Greater Manchester police say the suspect is also believed to be dead as bomb experts investigate whether he had an explosive device. Earlier reports said a vehicle drove directly at a group of people before another person was stabbed. Yom Kippur is the holiest day on the Jewish calendar. Number 2, Israel's envoy to Canada says communications with Ottawa have deteriorated since Prime Minister Mark Carney took office. The ambassador says Carney's hard line on the Gaza Strip is the reason he still hasn't spoken with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu on the phone. Ottawa's co-signing a statement with the UK and France in May demanding Israel end its war in Gaza amounts to a, quote, very hard line towards Israel, according to the ambassador. Number 3 on your Farwell Show 5 this morning, the federal government is rolling out a new agency aimed at speeding up military purchasing. Secretary of State for Defense Procurement Stephen Fuhr will oversee the new Defense Investment Agency, saying it will deliver equipment to the Canadian Armed Forces at a faster pace to better meet its needs. Number 4, Marineland says it is profoundly disappointed by the federal government's decision to deny its request to ship 30 belugas to China. According to a database created by the Canadian Press, 20 whales have died at the Niagara Falls tourist attraction since 2019. Marineland says Ottawa's decision condemns the whales to an uncertain future as the company can no longer pay for their continued care and feeding. And number 5 on your Farwell Show 5 this morning, get ready for it. When the 8th season of MasterChef Canada begins tonight, it will feature a contestant from right here in Kitchener. Former taxi driver Cindy Ward, a self-proclaimed serial entrepreneur, will be among the amateur chefs competing for a $100,000 prize. The 57-year-old says her Rush albums are a regular feature while she's cooking in the kitchen. Ward says she dances along to Spirit of the Radio, one of my favorite songs by Rush, and punches the air for Salesman when Geddy Lee shouts that in the song. She does that as she sautés her shallots in the pan and deglazes with red wine and then butter. Ward says love is having Rush songs in her consciousness since she was young, and the band inspired her to parody the song Limelight as her own culinary dream.
All the world's a Cuisinart, and we are merely players, creamers and brulators, each another's diner in the kitchen escapade. Living in the kitchen, the universal dream, for those who wish but seem. And those who wish to be must put aside the alienation and get on with the fascination, the real relation, the culinary dream. The real relation, the culinary dream.
Cindy Ward in her kitchen in Kitchener, competing tonight on MasterChef Canada, inspired by Rush. She says that song, that parody of Limelight, just popped into her brain while she was making brunch one day, adding that she's feeling inspired that her culinary dreams are finally coming together. I mean, that's pretty close to the real song, isn't it?
Living on a lighted stage approaches the unreal. For those who think and feel in touch with some reality beyond the gilded cage.
She practically nailed it as far as I'm concerned. And that is your Farwell Show 5 for this Thursday morning, the 2nd of October. Okay, here's how it went down. And you can tell me, because I always like to come to you for advice and really to dish the dirt that happens in the Farwell household. 3 weeks to the day. 3 weeks to the day since we tied the knot, attached the old ball and chain to one another's ankles. The honeymoon's over in the Farwell household. Here's what happened. I was getting ready for bed last night. Go in the bedroom and I step on it. It's dark. I don't have a lot of lights on. I step on something on the floor. What's on the floor that I just stepped on? Oh, it's a pair of my beloved's pants just on the floor. So I says to myself, well, I guess that she left her pants on the floor. And I think that being a good partner means just ignore the pants on the floor. Don't complain about the pants on the floor. Your beloved's a grown up. She knows she left her pants on the floor. Don't complain about the pants on the floor. So I didn't. I just left the pants on the floor. I finished the business of getting ready for bed. My beloved comes in several minutes later. She's like, what are these pants doing on the floor? I said, I don't know. I didn't leave them there. They're your pants, not my pants. She said, why didn't you pick them up? So I explained to her the exact same thing I just explained to you. I figure the right move to make as a good partner and supportive husband is to just ignore the pants on the floor. You know you left the pants on the floor. I'm not going to complain about it. I don't care. You want to leave your pants on the floor, you leave your pants on the floor. You do you, boo. So I just left them there. And she's like, you should have picked them up. Like, you're supposed to pick up the pants. I'm like, I didn't leave the pants on the floor. And so my beloved was mad at me for not picking up her pants off the floor. I'm like, hang on a second. You left the pants on the floor. They're not mine to pick up. You're a big girl. You pick up the pants. Apparently, I was dead wrong on this, and that was it. Never go to bed angry. Blah. That was it. Help me out here, okay? I will let you be the judge, jury, and if required, in my case, executioner. Did I do something wrong here? I did not leave the pants on the floor. I allowed you to leave your pants on the floor. That's great. I can't be in trouble for not picking up the pants that I did not leave on the floor. Or can I? Help me out here. Because the 3-week marriage is on the rocks all of a sudden. Tell me how wrong I was or how right I was. I'd love to hear that I was right because I was sure wrong last night. This is the Mike Farwell Show. 570 News Radio and Rogers TV. So you see, 3 weeks to the day that we got married, I got in trouble last night from my bride because I didn't pick up her pants off the floor of the bedroom. I figure the right thing to do, the supportive partner thing to do, is just let her be her. She left the pants on the floor. I'm not going to complain about it. I thought that was the right response. Apparently not. I got in trouble for not picking up the pants. And I said, but I didn't leave the pants there. Why is it my responsibility to pick the pants up? And that was the end of that. And the lights went off. And here I am this morning asking you where I went wrong. Or perhaps, I still think, because I'm stubborn this way, clearly I was right, wasn't I? I'll go to the phones. Charlie, good morning.
Oh, Mike. This is not a matter of being right or wrong.
Okay.
And I would suggest you nail this in the bud before it mushrooms. So, Mike, here's what I suggest. Just admit you're wrong. Then you don't have to listen to all the reasons why you're wrong. It's to your benefit.
But, Charlie, I'm not wrong.
Well, it doesn't matter. You don't have to listen to all the reasons. It's like I said, it's to your benefit. Mike, you don't have to be the best man here, but you can be the better man. And at the same time, win a bunch of brownie points if you just apologize. It's always to your benefit, Mike.
Charlie, I appreciate the advice. I know that you have been married a long time. I'm not wrong, though. George in Cambridge, good morning.
Good morning, Mike. How are you doing?
Well, I feel like I'm building a doghouse in here. I might just stay at work all day.
Yeah, so what I'm going to say is, you know your beloved is right most of the times.
Absolutely, I do.
You know that. She is. But in this particular case, Mike, I got to side with you. Where does it end? I mean, last night was the pants. What's it going to be next? Are you going to have to clean up the mess that she made because you saw it and you should have cleaned it? No. She should take the responsibility. If she really did do it, she should take it up because there'll be no end to it.
All right, George. We start down the slippery slope of leaving messes behind all over the place. Tony, good morning.
Good morning, Mike. Piece of advice from a guy that's been married 37 years.
Okay, good. This is the advice I need.
Yes, you can either be right or happy. You're not going to be both. That's my piece of advice.
Tony, but I was right? Yeah, okay. I get it. Tony, thank you. 37 years, and you've got the answer for me. You can either be right or happy. Jason, good morning.
Mike, I think you should just open up that phone book in the back of your pants there called a wallet, blow out the cobwebs, and hire a maid, and then this way here, that'll solve all the problems.
Hang on a second. What is this about the cobwebs in my wallet there? Hotshot?
Well, we know you're cheap, so.
Thank you for that, Jason. I am cheap. Oh, baby, am I cheap. I give cheap a bad name. I'm so cheap. Doug, good morning.
Good morning, Michael. I'm going to one-up Augie. In less 2.5 weeks, Patty and I are going to be 46 years.
Okay, 46 years of wedded bliss, Doug.
Well, I'll tell you something. Anyone who says they don't have disagreements or fights is either not communicating or they're lying. But Charlie was right, and right or happy. Yeah, that's a good way to put it. But the big word here is that the two of you are in this. Can you tell me what that word is? You're in it what? Together. That's exactly right.
That's exactly what my beloved said last night. She's like, we're in this. We're a team. We're a team, she said, Doug. I'm like, I know. I didn't complain about the pants on the floor. That was me being a good teammate.
Actually, you should pick them up and tell her you picked them up, because then she says thank you, and you're both happy.
All right. I hear you, Doug. There you go. You can be happy or you can be right. Francis, good morning.
Good morning. It's Francis from God's Country.
Yes, sir.
And if you remember, I suggested that if you want lots of loving and when you get in an argument, make sure you do it early in the morning. And I'm going on 54 years of marriage.
Francis, 40 years.
54.
54 years of marriage.
Almost. I might make it there.
You will so. I know you will.
God bless.
And to you, thank you. My beloved points out, and quite rightly, that she says, how many times every day do I pick up after you? I don't know. I don't remember leaving my pants on the floor recently. Phil, good morning.
Good morning, Maestro Mike. I'm Phil, number 81 on your list.
Farwell's Force official member number 81. Good day, sir.
Just remember what I mentioned to you once before.
You've told me so many things, Phil.
You know the honeymoon's over when they stop closing the bathroom door.
Oh, now, Phil, listen, I guess, but that's not the point. Is the pants on the floor, not the bathroom door. Rob, good morning.
Hey, Mike.
Hey, Rob.
Can I tell you how to be happy and right?
Oh, I'd like that. Yes, be happy and right. How do I do that?
So I've been married 15 years.
Oh, Rob, your phone is really crapping out on me.
Hello?
Rob. Oh, Rob. No, Rob. That's like the ultimate cliffhanger. Can I tell you how to be happy and right? And then my phone craps out. Peter, you're going to get the last word.
All right, you made 3 mistakes. First one,
3?
you didn't pick them up.
Yes, sir.
Great. Second one, you didn't apologize for not picking them up.
Right.
And the third one, somewhere in between those two, you tried to justify not picking them up. Happy wife, happy life, my friend.
Thank you, Peter. Thank you. I'm so happily married, I can't even stand it. I must be annoying to be around right now. And boy, oh boy, I'm picking up those pants next time. This is the Mike Farwell Show, 570 News Radio and Rogers TV. You probably heard our reporter in the 570 News Center, Josh Piercy, talking yesterday morning about a motion that will be brought forward to Regional Council next week from Regional Councillor Colleen James, one of the representatives from Kitchener. And this motion, in a nutshell, asks that the region pause its speed camera program and any planned expansion until it gets some clarity from the province about what's going to happen. Queen's Park returns to sitting October the 20th. Nothing can happen before then. So what do we do in the meantime, between time? The motion reads exactly, therefore be it resolved that the region of Waterloo halt any further previously planned expansion of the automated speed enforcement program until details of the pending legislation are made available. It goes on from there, but we can get more information directly from the source as Councillor Colleen James joins our show. Colleen, good morning.
Good morning, Mike. How are you?
I'm great. How are you?
Good. I just got to tell you, you're right or happy, Mike. Just remember that. Just remember that.
I've been reminded that, and I appreciate the further reminder. I'm going to try to be both someday, but for now, I'll go with happy. Thank you very much.
Good.
Okay, so to the motion that you are bringing forward next week, why do you want to press pause on any planned expansion of the speed camera program?
Well, it only makes sense, Mike. We're hearing from, our premier different things. Things are changing, but nothing has been tabled yet. So, in order to provide some sort of stability here, I put forward that motion to say, okay, it hasn't been canceled, legislation hasn't been tabled, but what we can commit to right now is no further expansion. I need to make sure that legislation is tabled. Otherwise, something could come out tomorrow and be said. So it just, to me, it makes sense. I hope there's council support around this. But for now, we won't expand. We'll just keep it kind of status quo. We'll see what comes out on October 20th when they're back, and then move forward from there. But the other part of the motion is, I want staff to come back with what are the implications to canceling this too, because I think that's a valid question that I think residents need and council needs as well.
I'm really interested in that part, Colleen, because it just seems to me from the outside looking in that the implications of cancellation, if indeed the province goes this way because of what Premier Ford said, the implications are quite costly because you're going to have to break contracts with camera providers, et cetera. And then if we get into all of these road safety improvements like roundabouts and speed bumps, they come at a cost as well. Are you maybe hoping that when the public learns of those implications, they might be more supportive of speed cameras?
Well, I think the public, you and I both know is torn on this. It's a very debatable subject. There's going to be a cost. The province imposed this legislation in 2019, and municipalities put in these cameras and approved them. I think that it could be done better. I think if there's legislation tabled, maybe it's making some changes. I hear from the public that time of day is a concern. So let's put in parameters for during school hours, maybe slightly into the evening. The threshold, the fines, all of these things can be adjusted. But at the end of the day, I think that, this is a program that is a tool that does change behavior. We can have more than one thing, speed bumps and flashing lights, but there is a cost associated, and that could be significant. And we have not heard anything around what that would look like to make that investment whole for municipalities that have invested into the program and legislation that was tabled in 2019.
Just down the road in Brampton, we were reporting this morning on All News Mornings that council there is essentially defying the upcoming provincial legislation and saying, hey, we are going to continue using speed cameras. So while you advocate for a pause here, they're boldly moving forward there. Do you think that maybe we could do the same thing and instead of pausing, just keep going and advocate the province to allow these to continue?
Oh, well, I think Brampton is they're unique there as well. We know that there's a speeding concerns in Brampton. They have the data as well that it works and that is showing change of behaviors. They also have all of the speed bumps and flashing lights as well. So, I think for Brampton to do that, it's bold, but also there is no legislation tabled. I think, words have been said, but let's have the legislation tabled. And this is what the motion is about. The speed cameras right now are here. Once we get legislation tabled, we'll see how we move forward, but we will commit that there will be no expansion at this point in time.
I can't help but get the sense, Colleen, that maybe you feel as though there's a chance here, and perhaps greater than 50-50, I don't know, but that the province will, instead of canceling the program, amend the program. Do you have any sense that might happen?
I don't know which way we're coming or going. I think there's an opportunity. There's an opportunity to time of day. I hear from a lot of residents that, they support the program. They support it in school zones. I as well support it in school zones. Maybe time of day. Signs. People say the signs aren't big enough. All of this is legislation that the province has the ability to implement to make it more balanced for people. Even, the 24 hours, or we don't need to potentially have it 24 hours, but we know that there is stunt driving happening late at night. Maybe we're at the threshold and what we're ticketing for at those times in the night or in the evening. That's what's being implemented. It doesn't always have to be like an absolute, Mike. There's balance that can be found here within this program. And, I would hope that from the public, from those that support it, those that don't, but maybe support it with parameters, would say, and have some impact on any legislation coming forward. Whether that will happen, I don't know. If it's a done deal, it may be a done deal, but I think there's efforts like you see in Brampton and other municipalities to say, hold on, it is a tool. It's one of many, and we don't need to cancel out one. Maybe we just refine it a bit. And, I would hope that there'd be some refinement. I don't know if that's going to happen, but like I said, with this motion, at least right now, we're not going to expand anything, and we'll see what happens on the 20th when this legislation is tabled and what it says.
Looking forward to listening in on the discussion at Council next week, Colleen. Thank you very much for joining the show this morning.
Mike. Have a good day.
You too. Bye-bye. Colleen James, Regional Councillor, who represents Kitchener, one of 4 Kitchener representatives on Regional Council, bringing forward a motion that intends to do 2 things. One is get support from her fellow councillors at the region to pause any planned expansion of the automated speed enforcement program here in the region. Because between now, October the 2nd, and October the 20th, when the provincial government gets back to business at Queen's Park, there is a plan for more speed cameras to be rolled out. I'll remind you that the plan here in the region is an astounding, to me anyway, 175 speed cameras total. My goodness gracious. That's a lot of electronic surveillance, but that's the plan. So clearly you can understand in the next 18 days, and that's even if the province tabled something on day one back at the legislature, but in the next 18 days, there would be more speed cameras rolled out here. Colleen James's motion asks that we just not do that until we know what the province is going to do. And second to that, she's asking for a report from staff at the region on the implications of ending the program now. Remember, it's going to come at a cost, and we talked about this yesterday, right? There's a 5-year contract signed with the camera provider operators out of Germany. You're not just going to break a contract less than a year in and not pay a penalty for that. And we all know that the traffic calming measures described by Premier Ford, speed bumps, roundabouts, etc., will cost considerable money. In fact, Waterloo Mayor Dorothy McCabe figures it's a $100 million expenditure. That's a ballpark estimate, probably on the low side, Mayor McCabe says, to put those speed bumps and those roundabouts in all of these different areas around our community. So I promise you this much. It will cost more to cancel the program than it will cost to continue it, except you'll feel it more directly individually if you get one of those speed camera tickets. Remember the New Dundee speeder, about 130 kilometers over the limit we just told you about earlier today? So there's that. And that's even if, though, the Premier follows through on creating this fund for municipalities to tap into to put speed bumps and roundabouts, etc. Here's one more thing that I have learned and I thought would be really interesting to share with you. And I will preface this by saying it is one source. Usually I look to multiple sources, so you can take it for what it's worth. But as you know, there are only 37 municipalities in Ontario so far that have implemented automated speed enforcement. And I think it stands to reason that these 37 are talking to one another, right? It's not that hard to organize a Zoom call. And so I'm sure they are sharing information, these 36 or so municipalities. And according to an official at one municipality that is running automated speed enforcement, he says he knows of only one municipality currently running speed camera programs that has the threshold set lower than double digits. In other words, here in the region, if the limit is 30, you would not get a ticket for anything under 40. If the limit is 40, you would not get a ticket for anything under 50. In all but one, only one municipality, this city official says, has a threshold at 6 kilometers per hour or less above the posted limit. And I bring that up to you because it's been a question. What is the threshold? What if we set these cameras at? And I have not yet heard from one person that has had a ticket here in the region at less than 10 over. Just some food for thought as to where that threshold might be set. And I'm not advocating to go 39 in a 30. I am just saying, if you're curious where the threshold is, according to this city official, and it's not somebody here in the region, it's one of the other municipalities that's quoted, but he says he knows of only one that has the threshold set below 10 kilometers per hour over. So here we are. We continue to gather information. Queen's Park's not back till October the 20th. Do we pause? Do we keep going full speed ahead like Brampton is right now? What do we do about speed cameras? Your thoughts always welcome on the Mike Farwell Show. This is 570 News Radio and Rogers TV.
It is a tool. It's one of many, and we don't need to cancel out one. Maybe we just refine it a bit. And, I would hope that there'd be some refinement. I don't know if that's going to happen, but like I said, with this motion, at least right now, we're not going to expand anything, and we'll see what happens on the 20th when this legislation is tabled and what it says. Regional Councillor Colleen James bringing forward a motion next week to be discussed at Regional Council, asking that we pause any further expansion of our speed program here in the region and get a report back on the implications of canceling the program. Meantime, about 45 minutes down the road in Brampton, council there says it formally opposes the province's decision to abruptly cancel automated speed enforcement. So what we got ourselves here is a big old mess, and I'm wondering how you would untangle it. Let's go to the phones. Kathy, good morning.
Hi, how are you?
Good, thank you.
I just wanted to say that I do like speed cameras in the sense that on my road, for example, it's 40, and when I take walks, there's a thing up there that flashes how fast you're going, and I'm telling you, people are going 70 and 80, and we have a school on our street. What I don't like about speed cameras is I've had many friends get popped for going 42 and a 40.
Well, I don't think that's 42 and a 40. Are you sure? 42 and a 30, maybe.
No, it was 42 and a 40, and this was in Brampton.
Well, maybe that's the municipality then that's doing it under double digits, because that shocks me. I've never heard of a ticket for that low over the limit.
Yeah, like my attitude is if it's 40 and you go, 38, 36, whatever, that's fine. But when they start ticketing people that aren't going, way over the speed limit, I think it's wrong.
Yeah, and I understand that's one of the concerns. Again, it's one source, so you can take it for what it's worth. But as I shared with you, according to one city official that is running one of the 37 municipalities operating speed cameras, he says he knows of only one of those 37 municipalities that have a threshold set below double digits, which means in a 30, you'd be okay at up to 40. And that's 30+% over the posted speed limit. Sean, good morning.
Good morning. This is just Sean 165.
Farwell's Force member number 165. Good morning, sir.
I had a couple thoughts on this speed camera thing. Every time that you come out against it, I then hear news that actually supports the speed camera, like the guy doing 142 and a 40. Then there was the guy doing 176. It's like, yeah, this is ridiculous. And in all honesty, like you said, there's double digits, so they're probably about the same as a police officer would, ticket you for anyway. So the biggest argument I hear against them is, I want to break the law. That's the big argument. I want to break the law and I don't want to get caught. I mean, is that what people are saying?
Well, the argument from those in favor of cameras say, yes, that's what people are saying. I think one of my biggest problems with the speed cameras is, and I mentioned this yesterday, the rules changed midway through the game. The limit was 50, the limit was 50, the limit was 50. All of a sudden, the limit's 40 or 30 and monitored 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year by a speed camera. That's BS. I'm sorry. That's BS. You want to put a speed camera on every street? Leave the limit at 50. Kay, good morning.
Hi, good morning. Thanks for taking my call. I wanted to mention that I am a pro speed camera person. However, I've got dinged twice in two different school zones. One, it was on Westmount in Ottawa area, and I didn't even realize there was a school there. I did 53. So I got dinged on that one. And then the second one was at my grandson's school at Keatsway. I thought it was 40 because the other school zone was 40. So I was driving 41, and I got dinged because it's a 30. I think if they're going to do this, they have to do the same for all across the board. All schools are 30 or all schools are 40, and that way it would be fair for us drivers to say, oh, it's a school. There you go. We got to make sure. I know, I'm sure somewhere it's posted on near Keatsway. However, I just didn't see it. I knew I was at a school zone, but I just didn't see it. And I didn't mind paying the tickets. I was kind of embarrassed that I got a ticket, but I certainly don't mind paying the tickets, and I certainly don't mind that extra money in the government coffers for other purposes like, potholes and whatever.
Okay, I hear you, and that's an excellent call. I do find it a little frustrating. Obviously, you can afford to pay the ticket, which is great, but the bottom line is you don't want to pay the ticket, don't speed. But I think you bring up a great point on the lack of consistency, which is frustrating. Dallas, good morning.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
I have one question as far as what the one gentleman just said, 142, the other guy doing 176. When it comes to those folks, do the cops actually hunt them down and take away their license and then impound their car for the 30 days or whatever?
That's the thing about the speed cameras, Dallas, is it only knows the vehicle was traveling at that rate of speed. They don't know who was driving it, so nothing further comes of it except the very stiff fine.
So there you go. The inconsistencies, I agree with the last caller, the inconsistencies in different jurisdictions, etc., that causes a lot of confusion. And I do, as I said yesterday, yes, we definitely should put a pause on advancing it any further until we get the details as to what these folks are going to roll out, let's say.
Yeah, and we have to wait till at least October the 20th for that. I'm still hoping that Premier Ford keeps his word because I was done yesterday with the speed camera program. I don't think we've rolled it out effectively at all. Maybe there is room for improvement, and we'll get that. But the way it's being run today, not cool, not fair from where I'm sitting. We're going to keep our attention on the roads, but talk about the amount of salt we use on them come wintertime, not to mention sidewalks, parking lots, etc. That conversation coming up on the Mike Farwell Show, 570 News Radio and Rogers TV. Listen, I know it's another beautiful, sunny, early fall day, so please don't get too upset with me as I invoke the wrath of winter on the show this morning. But if you're paying attention to local councils, and that's what we do here on your behalf, you will have noticed that a couple of them, Guelph just very recently, a week or so ago, passing a resolution unanimously advocating for less salt use in the city. And I'm not talking about the kind of salt you put on your French fries. I'm talking about the salt that we use on our roads, our sidewalks, in our parking lots, etc., when the weather gets really bad. Last spring, City of Waterloo did the same thing in a resolution brought forward by Councillor Julie Wright. It was Councillor Rodrigo Galler that brought it forward in Guelph, for what it's worth. Bottom line is, more and more municipalities are getting behind this advocacy, but what's really going to need to change is provincial legislation. Danny Lindemood is the Campaigns and Communications Director with Water Watchers and the lead organizer of the Ontario Salt Pollution Coalition, and joins us to talk a little bit more about this. And Danny, when we consider the amount of salt that is used on roads and parking lots, on sidewalks, as I just mentioned, what are the impacts of all of that salt use?
There are a few key negative impacts to salt use in the winter. One of them, first and foremost, is drinking water impacts. The salt, as it melts away the snow, combines with that water and then runs off into our waterways, and that makes its way into our drinking water sources. Locally in the region of Waterloo, they're already mixing drinking water sources to try and bring down chloride levels. So this is already an issue that's close to home here. But of course, that salt is also making its way into rivers, creeks, lakes, other water bodies, and it is making it an inhospitable environment for all the aquatic creatures who call those places home. And last but not least, there are economic impacts that are often not thought about. Salt application actually diminishes the infrastructure lifetime of critical pieces of infrastructure like roads and bridges, stairways. It is super corrosive, so it has economic impacts onto people's personal property as well, be it cars or footwear. But a recent study actually estimated the amount of negative salt impacts at around $4 billion annually. So we can just sit with that figure to ground the economic impacts there.
Who is involved in the Ontario Salt Pollution Coalition, Danny? And how did this coalition form?
Yeah, the Ontario Salt Pollution Coalition is a collection of passionate individuals, community groups, and environmental nonprofits who are unified in our pursuit of provincial action on salt pollution to protect water. It's humbly led and guided by Water Watchers. I'm the Campaigns and Communications Director at Water Watchers, and I get to facilitate and lead the Ontario Salt Pollution Coalition. There are volunteers who join us every week to steward forward this advocacy, but there are also environmental groups like Rescue Lake Simcoe Coalition, Humber River Calling, the Greater Sudbury Alliance, Watersheds Canada, the Golden Silver Lake Residents Association, Ontario Rivers Alliance. I can go on that list. But I think more so we can understand that no one is paid to do this work. We're all doing it off the sides of our desks or as passionate volunteers because we truly have seen these harms of salt pollution from winter salt application. And we know that provincial policy change can start reversing those harms and hold the line against making the problem worse. And the group came together actually out of working together through a group called Freshwater Future. We did a little collective visioning around what would it actually mean to address the salt pollution issue locally in Ontario. And the Salt Pollution Coalition was born out of that visioning.
This is an issue. We're not even yet into winter, but I think it's timely because that season is next for us here. And I can tell you, Danny, that this conversation, you can almost mark it on the calendar because it comes up annually on our show. And inevitably, when we have this conversation, it comes back to the word liability. We use as much as we do because slip and fall claims have made insurance exorbitant for landscaping companies, for example, that manage parking lots or things like that, et cetera. People in front of their homes, they don't want people slipping, falling. It just goes on from there. How do we get around that? Because it seems to us, at least through our conversations on this show, that is the elephant in the room here.
It surely is the elephant in the room. And when we talk to contractors who are responsible for putting down salt, doing the winter maintenance, they all say the same thing, that they don't want to be putting down as much salt as they do because they are the same people in the summer planting all the plants, trying to steward the land, and they know it's having a negative impact. But you're right, they feel like they have to because of liability concerns. And it's actually a very clear solution that has come up from cross-sector dialogue between the nonprofit sector and winter maintenance groups, specifically Landscape Ontario. And we are collectively advocating for something called a limited liability regime. Essentially, a limited liability regime just means that we would have a couple key pieces of provincial legislation and best management practices in place that would allow us to say, you know what, this is a standard that shows that a winter maintenance contractor has done their job. Currently, there are no provincial policies or regulations or standards for road salt in Ontario. So that means that there are no pieces of legislation that a person can point to that will say, I've done enough, I've put down enough salt. So that's really what we're advocating for. Limited liability is interesting because it's actually like a 4-piece legislation. So it needs 4 components to move it forward successfully. And those are a single set of provincially endorsed best management practices, so essentially standards for how we should use salt. Contractor certification. So that means that contractors who are doing that work can go and get certified, and through that, they can have their liability limited. And there's the actual piece of liability legislation that needs to go in as well. And last but not least, a regulatory authority to oversee that regime. I do want to say, in an era of trying to cut red tape, that the industry in this case is actually asking to be regulated. They're saying this is such a huge issue and it's driving people out of the winter maintenance sector, and asking the province to give them a more regulatory environment so that they can continue doing this work and put down less salt at the same time.
One of the other things that we hear fairly consistently is that salt is both effective and inexpensive, making it an attractive option. Are there other options that can be as effective as salt in protecting against slips, falls, breaking down ice, etc.?
Yes, absolutely. The conversation almost always comes back to what are the alternatives. So I'm so glad that you've asked this, Mike. We can think about alternatives in 3 categories. There are chemical, physical, and practical alternatives that all have different levels of efficacy, many similar to salt. So on the chemical front, you can think about that as things like brine or other manufactured products like magnesium acetate, but also natural alternatives like beet juice. And we've seen from testing and scientific research that many of these products are more effective than salt at making a safe environment, but the cost aspect is always kind of what it comes back to. That said, there are some really practical, like mixing of, for instance, beet juice with brine that drastically reduces the chloride load and actually creates a safer surface for longer. So there are chemical alternatives that at the end of the day do actually beat salt economically as well. For physical, we can think about that as things like wood chips, sand, gravel. Those are used frequently in other provinces and they create traction on the road rather than trying to erase the signs of snow and ice from roads and sidewalks. So, and that's really critically what you need to not slip and fall or to be able to drive safely is traction. I do want to highlight that both chemical and physical alternatives can be worse than salt in some instances for certain waterways and water bodies. We're advocating for an approach that is responsive to the watershed that you're in and that explores that in the best management practices for winter maintenance. Last but not least, we can talk about the practical solutions. You can think about these as things like more plowing, lower winter speed limits, requiring snow tires. There are these like practical actions that would just allow us to put down less salt in general. And I would also advocate for a fourth category within this conversation, which is kind of re-examining our relationship with winter. Our current standards seek to erase signs of winter from the landscape by putting down a toxic chemical. It's been designated under the Canadian Environmental Protection Act since 1999. So we've known that sodium chloride is a toxic chemical for a long time, and we've still been using it and polluting our landscape and our waterways with it. We can start to think about what does it mean to move more slowly, to move with the seasons, to have standards that are actually reflective of the fact that we live in a wintry country. And I think that that could also start shifting consciousness socially on what our expectations are for how we can live through the winter and hopefully bring us down a road that lets us put down less salt as well.
The city of Waterloo last spring passed a resolution unanimously calling for reduction in the amount of salt used. Guelph, about a week ago, did the same thing, also passing unanimously. Are you encouraged, Danny, that municipalities in our area included are getting behind this idea to maybe continue that work to advocate to the province for change?
Yeah, so this is actually an Ontario Salt Pollution Coalition initiative, the passing of all these municipal resolutions on salt pollution. We've been working with municipalities and other governing bodies like conservation authorities because they're also concerned with salt pollution. And we know that they play a critical role in securing provincial action on salt pollution. So municipalities have been doing their best and to deal with the oversalting and salt pollution issues locally in their jurisdictions, but they lack the supportive provincial policy and regulatory frameworks that they actually need to meaningfully protect their local water bodies and drinking water sources and manage snow and ice. So it's been a real win-win in that. And I can tell you that we'll likely see 20 to 30 more jurisdictions pass municipal resolutions this winter.
Danny, I really appreciate the time you've made for the conversation today. It is an important one, and as much as I shudder about the season to come, I know we're going to be talking about this. So thank you for getting the conversation going today.
Thank you so much, Mike. And if anyone wants to learn more, they can head to Water Watchers website or to saltcoalition.ca to get involved.
Keep up the great work. Thanks again.
Thank you, Mike.
Danny Lindamood, Campaigns and Communications Director at Water Watchers and the lead organizer at the Ontario Salt Pollution Coalition, saltcoalition.ca. Look, we know this is going to be a conversation that comes up probably more than once in the season ahead. If you've been paying attention, and I know you have because I've already received emails about it, our regional government has been running some advertising right here on this radio station talking about being smart with our salt use in the upcoming season. And I know we don't want to think about that, me chief among the people that don't want to think about the weather that's coming, but it will come. And we will once again be in this position of how much salt is too much salt. Or, in terms of the way I think we apply salt to roads and sidewalks and parking lots these days, How much salt is enough salt to prevent me from getting sued, which is, as far as I'm concerned, the root of the issue. And I don't have an easy answer to that. I don't know that this provincial government is necessarily interested in limited liability legislation, but who knows? One of the other things that Danny said, though, that jumped out at me when we were talking about alternatives, she did make reference to snow tires. And I'll be first in line to advocate for mandatory winter tires on one's vehicle, but that's just me. Your thoughts are always welcome on the program. Is there a way to solve this puzzle? We know that we oversalt in an effort to avoid liability. You talk to any contractor about their insurance rates for maintaining sidewalks, parking lots, etc. in the wintertime, and you'll hear how much it costs. So what's the solution to that? Advocating for limited liability legislation, I suppose. But could we be doing more? Could we be using alternatives to salt? This is the Mike Farwell Show, 570 News Radio and Rogers TV.
The industry in this case is actually asking to be regulated. They're saying this is such a huge issue and it's driving people out of the winter maintenance sector and asking the province to give them a more regulatory environment so that they can continue doing this work and put down less salt at the same time.
Danny Lindemood, the lead organizer with the Ontario Salt Pollution Coalition. We've got close to 24 now municipalities across Ontario signing on to this advocacy to the province for limited liability legislation because we're using too much salt. It's that simple, and there are impacts environmentally and in regard to our infrastructure that decays more quickly given all the salt use. Let's go to the phones, hear from you. Is there a way around this? Sue, good morning.
And a good morning. I'm glad you're bringing it up. There is quite a conundrum, too, because the landscapers have to get all kinds of clients in order to accommodate by laying down the salt. That's their income. But the problem is that they rush, so they put more salt down, and they also do it like people do not weigh as much as cars, and they use the big granular type of salt even on the sidewalk.
So you think they should use a different salt?
When you get off a bus, it's like a ball bearing.
And you know what? When you're getting off a bus, that would be the region applying the salt, the same region that tells us to be smart about salt. Robert, good morning.
Thanks for taking my call, Mike.
Oh my goodness, Robert! You sound like you're under a pillow.
Okay, hang on just a second.
Is that any better?
Oh, yes, so much better. Thank you.
Okay, number one, ask people to slow down. We know that's not going to happen. Number two, ask the province to instigate some type of action as far as liability goes. We know that's not going to happen. So why not just concentrate on things we can control? One of the things I wondered about, Mike, and is what tonnage of winter salt do we use compared to the tonnage of salt that goes through water softeners every year? That we can control by instituting the collection in cisterns of rainwater. We'd reduce the water running off parking lots and off of roofs into the system. We'd reduce the amount of fresh water used to flush toilets, etc. We could have the gray water system in homes. But I would like somebody that possibly knows to call in and compare the tonnage of road salt, sidewalk salt used every year compared to the tonnage of salt that goes through water softeners 365 days a year, 24/7.
All right, Robert. An interesting point, and thanks for the reminder. I better check the tank and make sure I've got it topped up with salt back home. I got to be a good husband because I'm in the doghouse these days. An update from the 570 News Center, and then it's Thursday morning, 10:30. Living Retired with Gary Chalk coming up on the Mike Farwell Show, 570 News Radio and Rogers TV.
Hookah chaka, hookah, hookah, hookah chaka, hookah, hookah, hookah chaka, hookah, hookah, hookah chaka, hookah, hookah. I can't stop this feeling deep inside of me. Girl, you just don't realize what you do to me. When you hold me in your arms so tight, you let me know everything's alright. I'm hooked on a feeling. I'm high on believing.
You know what just occurred to me? I mean, we play this song because it says repeatedly, ooga chaka, ooga chaka, ooga chaka. And on Thursday mornings at 10:30, we are joined by Gary Chalk. You see, ooga chaka, Gary Chaka. But here's the thing. That song, Hooked on a Feeling, is from a band by the name of Blue Swede. Oh, and tomorrow on All Request Friday on this program, the theme is blue, in support of our Blue Jays, who open the American League Division Series on Saturday. We are playing your blue requests. It could be a band with blue in the name. It could be a song with blue in the title. It's up to you. You're creative. Your requests on All Request Friday tomorrow are songs that are blue. Let us know your request by email to mike@570news.com, or when you call in to talk about the various issues we talk about on the show. Just let our guy on the other side of the glass know what song you would like to hear tomorrow, as long as it adheres to our blue theme. The theme of Living Retired every Thursday morning at this time is laughter. We all need a little more laughter in our day, and Gary Chalk always brings it. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, Mike. With a mic. How are you?
Hey, you know what? I don't know why I'm doing as well as I am, but gosh darn it, I'm great. How are you?
Well, I'm good, but I have some advice. I mean, you say you're great, but you are in the doghouse. And I thought after the break, I got some, after all these years living retired, I have some advice for you. So maybe we can talk about that after the break.
I look so forward to it, Gary, because Lord knows I need all the advice I can get.
Well, I've got lots of experience being in the doghouse. My goodness. Hey, 2 weeks from this weekend, it's Thanksgiving. You checked out the price of your Thanksgiving turkey this year?
Oh, my goodness. I feel like a turkey with those prices.
Wow, it's more than chicken feed this year. My goodness, they're expensive. And then after we get that over, then it's into Christmas. And then by, shortly after 10:30 in the morning, Christmas Day, everything will be opened. Your dog, your cat will be sick from having one of the icicles dangling from the tree. And if it's like the Christmas tradition of the Chalk household, I'll be calling the Tuckery Ball hotline because I forgot to get the 15-pound turkey out of the freezer. I need help.
You do need help, Gary.
Oh, more ways than one. Hey, I got a question for you, Mike.
Yes.
Have you ever danced in the middle of a busy intersection? I'm thinking like, maybe Homer Watson Boulevard and Blockline Road, something like that. Have you ever just gone in the middle of the intersection and started to dance?
It's a great question, Gary, and you could have stopped it after have you ever danced? I will admit to having tried to, but I don't think what I do when I move, which isn't very well, in any way amounts to dancing. So the answer, sir, no.
Yeah, I don't dance. Well, I did once in the busy intersection.
Really?
Yeah. Jan, she's always saying to me, you walk around like you're in a daze. And she said, just do what you're told. So 2 weeks ago, I came back and I said, Jan, I did what I was told. Unfortunately, it was something that politicians told me to do, which was dance in the middle of the street. Here's the scoop. I live in St. George, which is near Paris, not that far from you, Mike. Paris, it's a bustling town, century-old cobblestone cottages. They're really having a boom in growth, lots of new homes, and tourists are flocking over to Paris. They got lots of restaurants and some quaint shops, but they're also going to join in the mayhem of dancing smack dab in the middle of its busiest intersection, which is Grand River Street North and William Street. And what they're doing is it's a whole new meaning to dancing in the streets. I'm telling you that. What happens is that they're trying to help all these people and vehicles that are now coming into downtown Paris. So the politicians, in their wisdom, they sat down and tried to come up with a plan to manage all the congestion. First thing they did, because they're politicians, they said, well, let's ban fireworks. But, of course, that wasn't the solution. What they came up with was and it's called a Barnes dance. You know what a Barnes dance is?
A dance in a barn?
Well, that's what I thought. Here's how it works. This is real, Mike.
Okay.
Picture in your mind, it's a free-for-all, or as Danny Gallivan would say, people are dipsy-doodling through everything.
Excellent reference.
That's right. So how it works is the traffic lights are all synchronized, so all the cars and all the trucks approaching from 4 different directions, they come to a complete standstill. It all stops. And then you hear beep, 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 and that is when all HE double hockey sticks break out. Mums pushing strollers, dads dragging their kids by hands, telling them to hurry up, people walking dogs, teenagers in skateboards, seniors hanging on for dear life in their walkers. Everybody enters the intersection going every which direction all at once. It's 12 different directions, including diagonally. Now, tell me, Mike, what can possibly go wrong?
Besides everything?
That's out. It's a mashup of hapless humanity. It's called the Barn Dance, which apparently comes about back in the early 1940s when there was a traffic engineer, and this is true, Henry Barnes. He lived in Denver. I don't know. I think he should be on the front cover of Bad Parent magazine for what he did. He was looking for his way for his daughter to get home from school, so he said, let's have a Barnes dance, which is also called a pedestrian scramble. You could also call it chaos, bedlam, pandemonium. I mean, I'm no expert on ins and outs of vehicular and pedestrian travel, but everyone going willy-nilly at a major intersection makes about as much sense as making bras for snakes. It's wrong, Mike.
Dipsy-doodling, willy-nilly. Gary, you're on fire this morning.
And you know what? I don't want to make a hullabaloo out of the Barnes dance, but I'm thinking, is this the best thing we can come up with? I mean, it's not. I told Jan, and she said, wouldn't it be fun if they played music when the pedestrians crossed the intersection?
Absolutely. Then you can do this scramble in sync or something. The choreography, Gary, imagine.
Exactly. And Jan said, I'll tell you something I think you'll understand when I say that's something. I want to hold your hand. And I thought, isn't that a great musical reference to walking in this chaos in downtown Paris? And, well, what she said was music to my ears because I said, stop, in the name of love, before you break my heart. Think it over.
Oh, Gary, so well said. Hullabaloos, dipsy doodles, willy-nilly at the pedestrian scramble in downtown Paris. Who knew small-town Ontario could have such drama on the roads? And you thought our speed cameras were bad. Okay, Gary has promised me the advice I need to get out of the doghouse because as a man now living retired with his lovely wife, Jan, he knows a thing or two about getting into and then perhaps out of the doghouse. Don't forget that you can find Gary's humor column, Living Retired, online at livingretired.press. And while you're there, you can sign up for the weekly email. And that column will be delivered directly into your inbox on Monday mornings because who doesn't want to start the week with a little bit of a laugh, right? So livingretired.press. And hey, while you're there, book Gary to speak as your next keynote at a company event or any other such thing, because what he brings to our show by way of entertainment every Thursday morning at this time, he can also bring to your corporate event. So livingretired.press. I look forward to the advice I'm about to get from Mr. Living Retired as we continue on the Mike Farwell Show this morning. This is 570 News Radio and Rogers TV. Every Thursday morning at 10:30, we're joined by our good friend and humor columnist, Gary Chalk. He writes the humor column Living Retired, which you can find online at livingretired.press. And while you're there, make sure you sign up for the weekly newsletter, and that column will be delivered directly to your inbox. We've learned about the Barnes Dance, a.k.a. the pedestrian scramble in beautiful downtown Paris. Gary has promised me the advice I need, and believe you me, I need the advice to get out of this doghouse I have built for myself. Gary, all I did was leave the pants that were not mine on the floor of the bedroom last night.
Oh, doesn't sound like much.
No, I didn't think it was, but holy Hannah.
So you had your first, what'd you call it, your 3-week
we had our
anniversary?
It was a 3-week anniversary yesterday. 3 weeks, and that was it. The honeymoon's over.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah.
Well, at least you called it a spat, because that's newlywed talk, Mike, for argument.
Right.
You're using the right terminology, so
Okay.
you're doing good there.
Good.
I guess, first of all, my advice, Mike, is don't be too hard on yourself. I mean, you went 3 weeks.
You know what? That's true. That's like 21 days.
That's 20, and put it into dog years, because you're in the doghouse. That's half a year.
My gosh, I'm amazing, aren't I?
You're so I just don't want you to beat yourself up too much. I mean, I think it's part of marriage. The bedroom is the place where women get even, right? I mean, I go to bed. I'm usually first to go to bed in our place, and I've told the story before. I have to take all those decorator pillows off the bed. I throw them on the floor, because that's the only way I can get in. Then you wake up in the middle of the night, because I'm a middle-aged man, to go to the bathroom. I trip all over the decorator pillows. I've said it before, Mike. Decorator pillows, it's this scheme that married women and orthopedic surgeons who do knee replacement surgery, it's something they've all worked up together to get back and get even with us. And then, on top of that, if I make the bed in the morning, it's always wrong, because I positioned the decorator pillows all wrong. I think I'm going to be on the front cover of Decorator Pillow magazine or something. It's a bunch of pillows.
I can't wait to see that magazine with your picture on the cover.
Oh, I'm telling you. So, my living retired advice, and this is just between you and I, Mike, just between you and I.
Okay.
Whatever you do not apologize. Don't apologize. That's the first thing. You see, some people don't apologize. Instead, they get even. And I'm not saying that you should get even. But then there's men. You see, men, we typically don't take the effort to apologize. We sometimes don't even get even. There's my friend Chip, who I spoke to a week or so about the same thing. It's not his real name, because it would incriminate him. He said, Gary, it's all I can do to get up from the sofa to change the furnace filters a couple times a year. You want me to apologize? Not going to happen.
That's a lot of effort to put in, those furnace filters and an apology.
Yeah. And twice a year? Oh, my gosh. Anyways, there is some scientific evidence, apparently, that suggests, and this is important, that suggests the male DNA lacks the touchy-feely genes that are required to apologize. So instead, because we don't have those touchy-feeling genes to apologize to our wives, means we're genetically structured to care more about our 7-piece adjustable wrench set than my wife's feelings.
I loaned my wrench set to a buddy the other day. It was hard to let go. That thing serves me so well.
Oh, it does.
Yeah.
And speaking of touchy-feeling, just saying, Mike, for most men, our touchy-feely genes were most active when we were dating. Just saying. Anyways.
There's no question. Everything changes. The minute you get married, it all changes, Gary.
It all changes.
Yeah, it
That's
does.
Right.
Yeah.
All bets are off. So I tried to apologize, and this is true. It was not yesterday, a week ago Wednesday, the 24th of September. It was 4 days before Jan's birthday. And mid-morning, we lost our cable, the telephone, the television, the internet, the works. It was out all day. So at 9 o'clock that night, we're still not connected. And then Jan said, I'm bored. Can I have my birthday present I gave to you to give to me now? So it's wrapped up and sitting in your office. And I said, dear, how do you know the birthday gift that you bought for yourself that you gave to me to give to you is wrapped in my office? And that's when she said, for heaven's sakes, Gary, I was the one who went out and got my gift for myself. It's a book written by one of my favorite authors. I said, that explains that, but how do you know it's in my office and wrapped? That's when she laughed and said, Gary, it's the only thing in your office that looks like has been put together using butcher twine and a weed whacker. Right? So minutes later, she's got the gift, and she opens it, and imagine, she said, Gary, there's no card with my gift. Do I even have to purchase my own birthday card? And I said, well, dear, I've got 4 days still till it's your birthday. And she said, I might as well just even buy my birthday candles. And I snapped, and while you're at it, buy your own friggin' birthday cake and ice cream.
Uh-oh, Gary. Uh-oh.
Yeah, you know where it's going. Silence. I didn't know what to do or say. I thought, well, maybe I'll buy flowers. But then, well, that would be out of character. She wouldn't know whether the flowers were her birthday or about my misplaced comments about her birthday. So that's when I apologized. I apologized. I know I did the wrong thing. I blurted out. I said, "Dear, I am sorry if I offended you." Well, she said, "That's no apology. You sound like a politician." She said, if I didn't offend you, there's not an apology. So Sunday arrived, and we went over to the French in Cambridge for brunch. And the good news is I remembered to purchase a birthday card. The bad news, Mike, I forgot to bring it with me.
Oh, dear.
And you know what? You're darn tootin' I didn't apologize. I was already in a heap of trouble. So you don't apologize.
All right. Gary?
So that's it.
Okay. So I will not even admit to a mistake last night in not picking up the pants that were not mine off the floor of the bedroom.
You're right. Because, and you also said earlier, I heard you say it, and you got it right, don't go to bed angry. Well, we once argued about going to bed angry. I wanted to close my eyes and go to sleep, and Jan said, "No, we're not finished talking about what you upset me about." So we argued about that. The other thing we are really good at arguing about, when we drive, I typically am the guy driving, and Jan navigates. I pick the radio station, but then all things are stopped because she controls the volume of listening to the radio.
I don't know. I think whoever's driving gets complete control of the radio. That's my rule.
That's my rule. Doesn't work, though, Mike. So that's another thing we argue about. And she also says, "Gary, do you know how fast you're going?" Well, I mean, if I'm barely creeping, she thinks I'm going too fast. So arguing and apologizing, Mike, take it from me, all these years living retired, don't apologize.
All right. Let me just, before I let you go, say this, Gary. I'm sorry that you've had such trouble over the years.
Oh my gosh! Is that an apology? But you're not. But you're saying if
I don't know how sincere it was.
No, I don't. It sounds like political speak to me. I'm apologizing if I offended you. If not, I'm not apologizing.
Gary, I look forward to another week with you on Living Retired. Thanks for the advice.
Go Rangers!
Gary Chalk is the humor columnist that writes Living Retired. You can find it online, livingretired.press. And while you're there, it's real easy. You can sign up for the weekly newsletter, which means the column gets delivered directly to your inbox. I always enjoy it on Mondays because, you're coming back and you got all the weekend email to sort through and the Monday memos from the boss. And then, boom, there's Living Retired in your inbox. I love it. livingretired.press is the website. And also, don't forget that Gary is more than happy to come and speak to your group. And you can find him and ask him to do that through the livingretired.press website. We always have fun with Gary, and the Living Retired humor column brought to life every Thursday morning at 10:30 here on the program. Okay, something else that happens every Thursday on the show is something we call the Flipside, which is taking a break from the heavier stuff and having a little bit of fun. We do that every Thursday morning at 11:30. And this popped into my head earlier this week when I was talking to one of our guests on the show. And I reminisced about days gone by when I was living and working in Thunder Bay, did not have a lot of money, let me tell you. Hey, kids, when you get into radio, just give up your dreams of being rich. Anyway, I shared a story of what I did for entertainment, if you call it that, when I had very little money, when the budget was really tight. And I thought, I'll bet you have stories about that too, like how you found a way to entertain yourself when you had little or no money in the budget for entertainment. So we'll share those stories about 30 minutes from now on the Flipside this morning. And we're going to need it, that break from some of the heavier stuff at 11:30 this morning, because this is the first Thursday of the month. And that means it's a Throwback Thursday, where we take a look at the history of the region of Waterloo with our friends at the City of Waterloo Museum. And let me tell you, in the spirit of the season, since it's now October, this is one of the creepiest, and I do mean creepiest, bits of local history you'll ever want to hear. And you will hear it next as a Throwback Thursday is coming up on the Mike Farwell Show. This is 570 News Radio and Rogers TV. It is the first Thursday of the month, this October the 2nd. And on the first Thursday of every month, we are joined by our friends from the City of Waterloo Museum, specifically our good friend, Jennifer Huber, who's a program and engagement associate at the City of Waterloo Museum, for a little something we call Throwback Thursday, a little dive into the deep and sometimes dark history of this region. Jen, let's just start with a good morning, and thank you as always for being here.
Yeah, good morning. I'm so excited to be back for Throwback Thursday, where we take a step back in time to uncover fascinating stories from our community's past.
Now, this is a fascinating story, and when we exchanged a couple of emails about it, I said, this sounds vaguely familiar. I think I read about this particular individual, and what better time to talk about him than as we enter the spooky season, the month of October, Halloween's coming, people in my neighborhood already decorating. What leads us down this dark path, Jen?
Yeah, so I want to set the stage a little bit for Waterloo in the 1850s, because that's where I'm taking us back to for today's talk. So Waterloo, the little town of Waterloo, or the village as it was about to become, has 400 people. It's predominantly Mennonite, with some German immigrants from what would become Germany making their way here at this time. And what would become the country of Germany is in turmoil. So people that were leaving were looking for new opportunity, new political environments, and new starts. And that's what brings me to Dr. Johanna Frederick Christ, a man looking for just that.
Okay, so let's talk a little bit more about this doctor that I know I've read about in the past. Who was Dr. Christ? Is he some sort of revolutionary? Is he some kind of healer? Is he something in between those two things?
Well, I will let the listeners decide in the end, but I will give a little bit more information, because he was coming to Waterloo looking for a new beginning. He was in what would become Germany, and he was looking for political change. He was quite vocal about it, which is ultimately why he had to leave Germany to come to Waterloo for a new beginning in the 1850s. He settles in on a farm that was owned by Moses Springer, which is a name that might sound familiar to folks in our community. And he started advertising in our local newspapers that he was a surgeon, a doctor, a male midwife. He's settling into the community. He gets married, has kids. And the villagers would shortly after find out that he was also into body snatching.
Whoa, wait, what? Body snatching? Come on. Okay, so what drives a man from medical ads, you talked about him advertising himself as a surgeon, to body snatching? I mean, at what point does the good old quote-unquote Dr. Christ decide, you know what this town needs? It needs more skeletons. And who's going to supply all the skeletons?
And it's a good question. So he wasn't a very highly sought after doctor. As I mentioned, he had really strong political and religious views. And although he was from Germany and shared dialect similarities, he did not share a lot of the beliefs with our community. So he was wildly unpopular, doesn't get booked for many of his doctor practices, and then runs into some financial troubles. So being familiar with the human body and how it works, and I guess not queasy by many things, the good doctor, as he might have called himself, finds a way to unethically supply medical schools with complete human skeletons.
Okay. Jen, body snatching, I mean, I'm thinking of the month of October. We're probably going to get into the spooky spirit of things. Maybe watch a movie like, I don't know, Invasion of the Body Snatchers or something. Like, this sounds like something right out of a horror movie or novel, but it actually happened. Dr. Christ, the body snatcher, right here in Waterloo. How common was this really? And how did Dr. Christ get caught? Not that I'm looking for a body snatching gig and looking for tips.
Well, that's good. I'm glad we clarified. Well, how he gets caught, it wasn't terribly common. It did happen, but how he gets caught is a tavern, a bet, and a boiled skeleton. And hold on, because I will connect the dots for you. But it starts at Schnarr's Tavern, which is still the building itself is still around today. If you know where Carry On Comics are on King Street, that's where this tale originally gets leaked. Dr. Chris shows up, has a couple beverages, as some might, and he starts to tell people in the tavern that there are 3 men who are missing from their graves at this time. And by all accounts from the local newspaper, it sounds like he was quite proud of his work. He has this newfound wealth that he can afford new things. And he's so impressed and proud of himself that he even bets people that they wouldn't be able to find some of those corpses inside their graves.
You know what they say? Loose lips, right, Jen? Loose lips sink ships and they get you caught. Okay, so I got to think. In the course of going about body snatching, digging up bodies from graveyards, that's a pretty tall order. Like you might not be in it yourself. You got to have an accomplice or maybe even more than one. What kind of job interview do you think that was?
I kind of thought about that too. I said, how do you just start asking people questions like that? But Dr. Chris was kind of wise in how he approached that. He did have an assistant. You're absolutely right. I mean, moving bodies is heavy work there. And he found his partner in Charles Walter Hugo Verthman of Elmira. And what that job interview might have looked like is Verthman was a furrier by trade. So that meant he was used to and comfortable working with animal pelts, cleaning them, trimming them. So I'll let you put the dots together of how those skills might have combined and found a way of working well together.
All right. So we've got Christ of Waterloo, Verthman of Elmira, kind of Waterloo's own Dr. Frankenstein, putting these two together. Maybe even, no, there's no Jekyll and Hyde. I think there's just Hyde and Hyde, nonetheless. How did the villages go from suspicious then, hearing these tall tales at Schnarr's Tavern, listening to people talk, etc.? How did they go from suspicion to conviction, Jen?
Yeah, you might have thought that would have been a hard thing to prove, but to be honest with you, the evidence was all on his farm property, sitting inside the property. What he had done is he had boiled down the flesh off of the bones so that he could create the skeletons and he could put them back together. So when they went to investigate his work and his property, they found bodies in pieces, in tubs, in trunks, partly boiled down and ready to be turned into these skeletons that he would then sell. And I saw one investigator comment on the smell. If you can only begin to imagine the stench coming from a place like this, and as he described it in the newspaper, it was truly the smell of the human body in decomposition. Now, they had to identify to prove that they had found these particular people. And one of the things that one of the people who he had snatched had actually passed away because they had gotten hit in the head with a beam. So there was skull damage. And they had the family identify the marks on the skull. And that was one of the ways that they actually proved the particular people were missing. The other way is you go to the grave and you find nobody.
Empty grave means somebody must have taken the body from it. Jen Huber is a program and engagement associate with the City of Waterloo Museum. She joins us on the first Thursday of every month at 11 a.m. for a little Throwback Thursday. I can't get the thought of that stench out of my mind right now. This is one of the creepiest stories, an actual body snatcher working in partnership with a local furrier going back to the 1800s right here in our community. So you get busted. What kind of jail time do you think you get back in the 1800s for something like this? We'll continue our conversation with Jen Huber, Program and Engagement Associate with the City of Waterloo Museum, on the Mike Farwell Show this morning. 570 News Radio and Rogers TV. It is the first Thursday of the month, and on the first Thursday of every month at 11 a.m., we do a little Throwback Thursday here on the show and explore some of the history of our community. We always have so much fun doing it. And helping us along in the endeavor is Jen Huber, who's a Program and Engagement Associate at the City of Waterloo Museum. This being the first Thursday of October, it makes perfect sense to get into the spirit of the season with Halloween coming and tell one of the creepiest stories that this region's history has ever shared with us. It's the story of Dr. Johann Friedrich Christ, who came from Germany to Waterloo, and because the advertisements he was making for his skills as a surgeon weren't exactly making him a lot of money, he got into the process of creating skeletons for the community by digging up bodies from grave sites. And he had a little help along the way from a fellow by the name of Charles Walter Hugo Werthmann of Elmira. Now, just before the break, we told you how they got caught. And Jen, you'll be happy to know one of my colleagues poked his head into the studio during that break and said, I'm glad you didn't do this segment at the lunch hour, because you see, you were talking about that stench and all of these different things. We went over this in email and you wondered, like, can the Farwell Show listeners handle this creepy story? Right out of our own past, Jen.
It's true. It is very much a part of Waterloo's history. It's maybe one of those stories we don't talk about as much because we're not particularly proud of it, but it definitely happened here. And I am glad we're not the lunch hour time slot.
Okay, so we are not afraid to talk about these things. And we left off with the two men getting caught for their body snatching ways. Do tell, Jen Huber, what kind of prison sentence would one get back in the 1850s, almost 200 years ago, for such a heinous crime?
Yes, and they did have like a full trial and everything like that. You can see them calling witnesses. So it was talked about. It did make newspapers all over Ontario. It was quite the story, as you can already hear and start to put together there. And at the end, I wonder what folks think he would get. Because I was surprised that body snatching of multiple bodies gets you a mere 3 months.
Come on with your coming on. Like, I would have thought for sure this is going to be a hanging back in the 1850s. I would have thought for sure.
Well, can I add the icing on top of it?
Sure.
After he comes out of jail, he continues to practice as a doctor in the community.
Okay, so what you're saying, Jen Huber, is that people think we need bail reform now? How about in the 1850s? Snatch bodies, get 3 months, and then go back to practicing medicine. Perfect.
Yeah, what could be the problem here, huh?
Exactly.
So it's interesting because what happens next, and I think folks always kind of questioned his medical degree and his medical background, but they actually send medical examiners around to test the skills of the doctors in the various communities. And Dr. Christ, meets the medical examiners, does part of his exam, and skips town.
He just takes off because the medical examiners were coming. He's like, you know what? We got to go. So what do we learn? What happened after he skips town? What becomes of Dr. Johann Christ?
Well, he actually heads down to the United States and he goes to Grand Rapids and restarts, or at least attempts to restart, his life down there. He opens a medical practice. You'd be shocked to hear. He remarries and starts to settle into life down in Grand Rapids. Unfortunately, it does not last long for him, and he eventually kills himself by morphine. So he puts himself to sleep.
Okay, so that's Dr. Christ. What about his accomplice, Werthmann from Elmira? What happens to him?
So I haven't quite finished figuring out his entire story, but I do know that he goes back to jail for stealing animal pelts and misrepresenting some of them. So he seems like he's a fellow that's always kind of in and out of our local system.
An incredible piece of local history with the body snatchers that got 3 months in prison, and who knows what became of Werthmann of Elmira. I know, Jen, that people are not only interested in the history of our community, but interested in stories just like this at this time of year. Is there a place that we can find more about this story and maybe others like it?
Yeah, so we actually worked with Explore Waterloo Region and we helped to create a Haunted Histories, a spirited journey with a few other of our local museums and art gallery sites. It's available starting today where you can book it online. You can choose what you'd like to book within the fall exploration package. And we do have a self-guided mysterious stories of Mount Hope Cemetery portion to it. So you can get 5 different individuals sharing their mysterious, kind of unique deaths. And yes, Dr. Christ himself will be there to share some of his story along the way.
Oh, my goodness. So that's Haunted Histories, a spirited journey in partnership with Explore Waterloo Region, available starting today. Where will we find it? Where can we make a booking, Jen?
Book online on the Explore Waterloo website, and the link is also on the City of Waterloo Museum social account. So you'll see that post coming out later today.
Amazing. Listen, thanks for having the stomach to share this creepy story with us today.
Yeah, happy Halloween, everyone. And thanks for taking a trip down memory lane with the City of Waterloo Museum. Remember, you can visit us in person at Conestoga Mall. Online, you can explore our local history exhibits, or you can find us in the cemetery for the month of October. Until next time.
Find us in the cemetery. Ugh, creepy. I'm sorry, I cut you off there. Yes, until next time, we will continue to keep the past alive. And I'm not sure how forward I'm looking to next time, Jen, but I really do enjoy these monthly conversations, and we'll see you at the beginning of November.
Awesome. Thanks for having me.
Thanks a lot. Bye-bye. Jen Huber is a program and engagement associate with the City of Waterloo Museum. Joins us on the first Thursday of every month for a Throwback Thursday here on the show, where we get a little glimpse into the history of our community. And what a history we get today with I had heard this story. I don't remember where I read it, but I knew some of the history of Dr. Christ, the body snatcher, here in the region. And it is as creepy a story from our past as I can possibly think of. And that fall attractions package that Jen mentioned, Haunted Histories, a spirited journey. When she mentioned Mount Hope Cemetery, boy, oh boy, did that bring a visual for me. Mount Hope is the cemetery where my sisters are and a lot of our family. And I happened just to be by to pay a little visit a week or so ago. And while I was there, I came from the Waterloo side, if you will, of Mount Hope Cemetery. I usually come in from the Louisa and Moore side, kind of I would call the Kitchener side. So anyway, I'm coming in from Union along Moore Ave. And I had never realized before, I really hadn't, how big Mount Hope Cemetery really is. And I came in another part of it, and I realized how expansive it was. And I saw some people out there with their dogs kind of enjoying it. And I've heard a few people, more than a few, say that they enjoy the atmosphere, the quiet of a cemetery. I don't think it's the kind of place I would choose to spend time, but I know different strokes for different folks, and for some, that atmosphere is ideal. But my goodness, what I couldn't help but think of how much space at one point in our past Kitchener decided to devote to this cemetery, just one that we have in the city, to bury our dead. Mount Hope is a sprawling expanse right there on Moore Avenue. Anyway, that's just what popped into my head when Jen mentioned Mount Hope Cemetery. All right, we've got to get you to the 570 News Center for an update. And then it's time for the flip side. We'll cleanse our palates from the stories of body snatchers from the history of our community and have a little bit of fun on the flip side. And what I'm wondering today is this. When money was tight, maybe you were first married, maybe you were a student trying to keep your OSAP bills in check. I don't know, whatever it was. When money was tight, what did you do for entertainment? Your entertainment budget on a shoestring. One of the things that I used to do came up in a conversation earlier this week, so we'll get into that. And something else that I remembered that is truly embarrassing that I did. I share that with you too. But I would love to hear your stories about how you stretched your entertainment budget when there wasn't much room in the entertainment budget. You know, my coworker this morning said she and her brothers and sisters collected bottle caps. There you go. cheap entertainment. Free, in fact. The Flipside coming up on the Mike Farwell Show, 570 News Radio and Rogers TV. If you heard the show on Monday, we were talking with the organizers of Cambridge Reads, an event coming up this Saturday from 10 until 2 at Blue Heron Public School in Cambridge. If you didn't hear the show when we talked about it, that's okay. The details are, in a nutshell, that Cambridge Reads, it's like a giant book swap event, and it's absolutely free, which you know is my favorite four-letter word starting with an F, F-R-E-E, free, on Saturday from 10 until 2 at Blue Heron Public School. Lots of fun for the kids, little library, demonstrations, etc., and a great big book swap. In talking to the organizers on Monday, I just randomly recalled, you know me on this show, it's like a stream of consciousness, right? And it took me off on a little bit of a tangent, but I recalled how meaningful, talking about this free book swap, books were to me at a time in my life that I didn't have a whole lot of disposable income. In fact, dare I say, I had no disposable income, and I should not have even been spending what I was spending at the time. But, I mean, one has to entertain oneself and get out of the house, or in my case, the basement apartment on occasion, right? So back in a time that I was living and working in Thunder Bay, beautiful Thunder Bay, home to the sleeping giant. And this goes back to the late 1990s. So I'm a young man working in the radio biz and not making a lot of money. My days off were random Thursday, Fridays at that job. And so instead of just sitting around my basement apartment on Thursdays and Fridays, I found this coffee shop / bookstore. It was a decent walk, but again, gets me out of the apartment and out into some fresh air. Even in the wintertime, boy, those were tough winters on me. Let me tell you. That's why I only lasted one winter up there. Anyway, I would walk myself over to this store and I would buy a cup of coffee, and then I would sit in one of the big comfy chairs and I would read their books, which I mean, nobody ever kicked me out. I think it was encouraged to do that. So that's why the store was designed that way. And you got to remember, this is way back in the day before Chapters Indigo started firing up, right? At least there wasn't one in Thunder Bay. I don't know if they were elsewhere, but this became my entertainment. So I'd buy a couple of cups of coffee. So I probably spent like $6 on the day, but I'd walk my little derriere over to the store. I'd buy that cup of coffee. I'd sit in one of their big comfy chairs and I'd read the books for free. And then I'd finish my couple of cups of coffee. I figured I did my part by buying 2 cups of coffee and I left the books behind, but I got to read all the books and the magazines and whatever for free. And this is how I entertained myself. This was a way of getting out of the house and having a little bit of money, or using a little bit of money in my quote unquote entertainment budget. And it just got me thinking. I mean, I can't be the only one who did something that was a little bit less exciting or exhilarating for quote unquote entertainment when money was tight, right? So I thought, surely you have a story as well about the thing that you did for excitement and or entertainment when money was tight. How did you have fun when you didn't have a lot of disposable income to have fun with? And maybe, just maybe, by sharing these stories today, we can help somebody out that doesn't have a lot of money in that entertainment budget right now. I mean, times are tough, right? 519-570-2545, star 570, and 1-800-570-5715. What did you do for entertainment when there wasn't a whole lot of money in the entertainment budget? One of my coworkers this morning, when I posed this question, said, we didn't have a lot of money growing up, so we went camping a lot. And when we went camping, we would go out and me and my siblings would collect bottle caps, come back, put them in a jar, and compete to who could find the most bottle caps. What an inexpensive / FREE free way of entertaining oneself. Or she said they'd go throw rocks in the water, which, of course, didn't we all? Free entertainment right there. What did you do when money was tight to entertain yourself? Jersey, Bill, good morning.
Hey, when I was a student back in New Jersey, of course, I didn't have much money, but what I could do is just hop on the train for $10, and I would go into the city. And in the city, there was the great thing about New York City is there's so much stuff going on that people are willing to sell you very, very, very cheap tickets. I got into places like Lincoln Center for maybe $5 to $10. To places like Carnegie Hall. I like classical music, but I also went to other venues as well for folk music and stuff. And also, they even had a ticket agency where you could get a ticket for very cheap. It was called, I think it was called the Theater Alliance or something. And I went to one play. It wasn't all that great a play, but it's amazing who you even find just on the street after the play was over. And there's somebody else attending it was Malachi McCourt, who's a famous actor. I got a chance to meet him right there on the street.
That's pretty amazing. So a $10 train ride and then cheap tickets to all kinds of things.
Oh, yeah. And, of course, the museums as well. Go to, lots of times they might have had a set fee. Sometimes it was sort of an honor system. You could pay what you go into the Museum of Modern Art, the Metropolitan Museum. All those things were really available.
Love to hear it, Billy. Great story, that $10 train ticket. Reminds me also of being a kid. And my buddies and I, do you remember when there were malls in downtown Kitchener? So we'd go downtown and we'd just kind of like hang out at the mall and like play little games of hide and seek. We were teenagers just running around the mall. I don't know what it was like. It was just goofy games. Didn't spend a nickel. And the one time the train ride reminded me of it. I don't know what time of year it was. Maybe it was Oktoberfest, but they were running free transit. Grand River Transit. Back then it probably would have been Kitchener Transit. Anyway, it was free. So we just got on the bus and rode it and pretended to miss our stop. Let me tell you, the driver clued into that little game pretty quick and booted us off the bus, as we deserved to be booted off the bus because we were just hanging out on the bus, being goofy kids. So dumb. No money, but we still had fun. Ryan, what about you? When money was tight, how did you entertain yourself?
Hey, Mikey. Well, as you know, I used to go to the food bank as a kid. So I would, with the lack of money and the abundance of time, I would find things in the neighborhood that I could do to make money, such as shovel driveways, depending on the season, pick up poop, dog poop that is, or rake leaves. I went as far as making twirl paints when I was 8 years old, and I went door to door and sold them for, at the time, $5 a painting, but I was getting $20 a painting. And I came home with the money, and my mom's like, "Where'd you get the money?" I said, "Well, we needed money, so I went and made some." So I found ways to make it when we were down and under, or down and below, if you know what I mean. I
know what you mean. That's a really cool story. Good on you. And Ryan mentioned the food bank. Ryan is one of the food bank fellas, and he and his fellow fellas are going to be on the show with us next Monday to talk about their latest Food Bank Fellas fundraising effort in support of the Food Bank of Waterloo Region, because that money that Ryan made as a kid to help out the family, he's now earning as an adult, and he and his family, his son, I'm going to be watching him in the Ontario Hockey League perhaps someday soon. Anyway, they're doing just fine, but they want to give back because Ryan remembers those roots. So we'll have the Food Bank fellas on the show next week. Let's go to Francis next on the flip side this morning. Francis, what did you do for entertainment when money was tight?
Well, I had bought a house on Strange Street, which ran back towards Cherry Park back there. And
yeah.
It had a real long property. I would throw horseshoes.
Oh, that's a good one.
And would you believe, like I thought about years later, now that I'm a little bit older, the noise that must have drove some of the people nuts, because between I and the one neighbor, we would throw horseshoes, and I eventually met Elmer Ho by doing this. But can you imagine the racket clinging on those posts? We put chalk on the post so we could see the post. It was getting so dark.
Oh, my gosh. That is great. Now, so Francis, hang on a second. So you mentioned Strange Street in Kitchener, which we all know very well, but you talk often about being out in God's country, Formosa and now Listowel, right?
Yep. So, we moved around a lot.
Okay. There you go. So horseshoes was the way to entertain yourself when you didn't have much money.
Exactly. And I can't throw them anymore, but I sure loved that. And a lot of people did, but I think it was more people probably hated us for the racket. God bless.
Thank you, Francis. You as well. That reminds me. See, and Jason called earlier this morning on a different subject and called me out, but rightly so, because I've never made any bones about the fact that I am as cheap as the day is long. I like to use the word parsimonious because it makes me feel better about my cheapness. It's a fancy word. But if you ever hear anybody, including me, say I'm parsimonious, it's just a nice way of saying I'm cheap. And when Francis talks about the noise of horseshoes, it reminds me, even in my adult years when the job was a little more steady, there was a little more disposable income, my buddy and I, because his dad worked the bar there as a volunteer at the Knights of Columbus, and we'd go out to the Knights for a couple of pops and hang out with the fellas. And listen, I don't know if they're still doing it. I'm not trying to give any secrets away or cause a rush anywhere, but the best kept secret in town, baby. Going there for a $3.50 bottle of beer. I'll take it. But horseshoe pit out there on Dearborn too. And I remember the time we were out there enjoying our pops and talking with my buddy's dad and hanging out, and just all you hear is clank, clank, clank from outside to the inside because they had a horseshoe tournament going on. So there you go. Francis, I can picture in my mind's ear the noise you were making, you scoundrel, you, when you had less money and you wanted some entertainment. What did you do? I went to a bookstore where I could buy coffee and save the price of a book because I would sit there and drink the coffee and then just read the books. And you know what else ended up happening is I was going past a thrift store, and I don't know why I stopped in one time, probably to find something inexpensive for my house or my apartment. And I found a mug, a coffee mug, but it wasn't any old coffee mug. It was a coffee mug with a radio station call sign on it. Call numbers, call letters, whatever it was. And I, being in radio, I thought this was the coolest thing because it was from another city entirely. I'm in Thunder Bay at the time. I get a coffee mug from Saskatoon. And I started collecting them. And I would go into that thrift store after my visit to the coffee/book shop. And for 10 cents at a time, I started this little collection of coffee mugs from different radio stations across this country that I still have with me today. They're in a box. I don't have them anywhere that you can see them, but I haven't been able to let go of my collection of coffee mugs. Bought for 10 cents each at the thrift store in Thunder Bay. And I would check other thrift stores after from time to time, even here in town, to find coffee mugs from radio stations, because we used to put out a lot of swag like that and start a little collection for very little money, because when you don't have much, you got to find ways to entertain yourself. How did you do it? That's the question we're asking you on the flip side this morning. It's the Mike Farwell Show on 570 News Radio and Rogers TV. There is an event coming up in Cambridge on Saturday called Cambridge Reads. It's a big gold book swap event, and it's absolutely free. 10 until 2 at Blue Heron Public School. You're welcome to attend and swap some books, maybe find a read for yourself. And in fact, that's one of many things happening this weekend. The free Oktoberfest breakfast with our friends at the Waterloo Regional Health Network Foundation starts at 7, goes till 11 at Binghamans. And then the Kiwanis Coats for kids, not just kids, adults too, but the Kiwanis Coat Drive is underway at Kitchener Market from 7 until 2 on Saturday. And you can get a really good deal on a gently used winter garment for you or the kids, just trying to help out in the community. Lots going on. But I bring up Cambridge Reads first because when we were talking about it earlier this week, I was reminded of many years ago when I was working in Thunder Bay at a radio station there and didn't have a lot of money in the old entertainment budget. I would entertain myself and get out of the basement apartment by going to a book/coffee shop where I would buy a coffee and then I'd sit there in their big comfy chairs and read a book. And I didn't have to pay for the book. I just paid for the coffee. Figured it's a pretty cheap way to entertain oneself. And let me tell you, the weather in Thunder Bay isn't always the nicest. It was pretty cozy in that bookshop/ coffee shop and a pretty inexpensive way to be entertained. So I thought, I can't be the only one with a story like that. What did you do when money was tight to entertain yourself? 519-570-2545, star 570, and 1-800-570-5715. Grant, what about you? How did you entertain yourself when you didn't have much money to do it?
Well, when I was living at home, I would go to the library and I would get a bunch of records and I would tape either the whole album.
Wait a minute. You would bootleg from borrowed material from the library?
Yeah. I think I got about 300 tapes of music, either the countdown from the radio for New Year's Eve, and then I also taped a couple of the Christmas gatherings when we were opening up our Christmas gifts.
You would tape them audio or video?
Audio.
Okay, there you go. And then you had entertainment for afterwards, right? The library is the great equalizer, isn't it? Grant would go there to borrow, sign out music, and then he'd record copies for himself. Which, totally fine. There you go. Because listening to music, tell you what, I did a lot of that in Salmon Arm. I bought myself a radio CD player, kind of mini stereo for as inexpensively as I could at the local Kmart in Salmon Arm. And the Hips' Trouble at the Hen House was the big album. And let me tell you how many times I played that over and over and over again, just sitting there in my living room, listening to music. Good, inexpensive way to entertain oneself. Trent, good morning. What did you do to entertain yourself when you didn't have much money?
Well, being a latchkey kid from the 70s, we kind of didn't have enough money, but I had a paper out and stuff like that, give me a little bit of money. And every morning when school was let out, I'd hop on the Toronto subway and make my way up the York Mills and play Don Valley Golf Course for 35 cents, all-day golf pass.
Come on.
Yeah.
So how's your game today?
Well, because I sort of tore my rotator cuff, I'm horrible, but I used to be a +2 handicap back then.
Wow. So a subway ride and then 35 cents to play all day.
Yeah, I was the junior rate.
Amazing. I love it. Good for you.
I was only like 10 years old.
Thanks for sharing the story. Appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem. Take care.
You too. That's a good one. Like Jersey Bill, who started it off saying I'd pay a $10 train fare, but I'd get into the big city of New York and I'd have all kinds of tickets to all kinds of things for very little money, take advantage of those museums, etc. Something else that I did, and it embarrasses the heck out of me. Like I actually think this is a sign that I had too much money, which I've never been accused of having, or I've never felt like I had. But I don't know why. I don't know why. I was into my 20s by this point, and I was in my first apartment, and I used to budget. Here's how I would budget, by the way. I would keep envelopes of cash with the amount of money required, because this is way back before we did all kinds of digital or online banking, right? Like bank machines were in their very infancy, if they were around at all. Anyway, so I would put money in an envelope to pay that particular bill. Here's the money for my water bill and my electricity bill and my cable bill, etc. And that's the kind of budget I was living on. And then for whatever reason, I was shopping with a friend's parents, and they were at the big box store, which before it was Costco, it was Price Club, right? Anyway, and I got just enamored with, I couldn't resist the temptation of this slot car racing track. You know those old things? You put the little plastic car on the track with the little slot that the electrical connection sits in. You hold the little plastic trigger and you race the cars around the track. And I thought, this is great, because I can't afford to go out, but I'm going to spend like $115, whatever it cost me on this. This is my entertainment forever. I might have played with it twice. Like, I don't know what I was thinking. Not good. That was bad Farwell budgeting habits. But the things we do when we don't have much money so that we can still entertain ourselves, from playing golf for 35 cents a day to hopping on the train into New York and taking advantage of cheap tickets to things, or going to the bookstore / coffee shop, buying the coffee, reading the books, but you didn't pay for the books. An update from the 570 News Center is on the way, and then you know what's after that, right? It's the noon hour coming up, and that means open lines so we can hear directly from you on Talkback. This is the Mike Farwell Show. Your calls coming up on 570 News Radio and Rogers TV.
Take out the papers and the trash, or you don't get no spending cash. If you don't scrub that kitchen floor, you ain't gonna rock and roll no more. Yakety yak.
Don't talk back.
Just finish cleaning up your room. Let's see that dust fly with that broom. Get all that garbage out of sight, or you don't go out Friday night. Yakety yak.
Don't talk back.
It is your daily Talkback Hour where we open the phone lines and allow you to have your say. You can reflect on something we talked about already earlier today. Maybe you didn't get a chance to have your say at that time, or bring something brand new to the table. Maybe there's something we need to know about, and you're just the person to let us know. 519-570-2545, star 570, and 1-800-570-5715. Among our conversations today, whether or not the region should pause its speed camera program until the province figures out what the heck it wants to do, how we reduce the amount of salt used on our roads, sidewalks, and our parking lots with the winter weather on the way, things like that. Or maybe it's still a thought on how you entertained yourself when money was tight. You had a little less disposable income, but you still got to have fun, right? We'll get to the phones and start with Joe this afternoon. Good afternoon, Joe.
Afternoon, Mike. Yeah, it was free, and it was like life-threateningly exciting. We used to dive off the cliffs at Elora.
Oh,
I don't know
yeah.
if you ever, yeah.
I never had the courage, buddy. I watched people do it, never had the guts.
When we'd go tubing down the Grand, and that was free. But do you remember Eaton Putt?
Absolutely, I do.
Remember the slide? You get this
Of course, the burlap
bag,
sack, the big red and white slide, yeah.
Yeah, and then you'd pay like 75 cents to go down it 10 times or something like that. And then you'd get like build up this static shock. So it's the first person that touched somebody else on the skin, you'd zap them after you got off the slide. I don't know if you ever remember that.
I don't remember that. I do remember sometimes kind of losing my balance and leaning over and getting a little rug burn or a static burn on my elbow. I remember that.
Oh, yeah, that too.
Yeah.
And the mini golf was like 50 cents or something like that. It was so cheap, and the food was so cheap. It's like pennies on the dollar.
There you go.
That was good times, man, when we were kids.
Yes, it was. Thanks, Joe.
Yep.
All right. Good to hear from you today. You know that diving off the cliffs at the Elora Gorge, or jumping, whatever you were doing, reminds me of Bellwood Lake. And when you go in, because there are some darn fine, let me tell you, butter tarts at the Bellwood General Store. And right across from where you buy the butter tarts at the Bellwood General Store is a little area where you can sit at a picnic table and then walk down. And there's a boat launch at Bellwood Lake. And when you go to that boat launch, there's a bridge. I'm not entirely sure of which road it is that the bridge is allowing vehicles to cross above, but I've seen young people primarily jumping from that bridge down into the water. And again, not a chance I would have the guts to ever do it. With Eaton Putt, listen, my Eaton Putt experiences were, again, remember how cheap I am, but my favorite ones were my free, F-R-E-E free, this word keeps coming up today, because I won on at least back-to-back years. It might have been back-to-back-to-back, but I don't want to overstate my championship performance at winning passes to Eaton Putt for Father's Day from this very radio station. That's right, 570 Chime back in the day. And I'm pretty sure Paul Godfrey was the morning man back then. Anyway, the contest was there, and I would call in to try to win, and I did successfully at least twice, might have been a third time. And then I got to take my dad to Eaton Putt for Father's Day. And of course, who benefits from that? This guy. My poor dad, sucker. Hey, Dad, I got you tickets to Eat and Putt for Father's Day, which means I get to have fun and you get to put up with me. Poor guy. Back to the phones here on Talkback. Dave from Cambridge. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Mike. I'd like to comment about your predicament when you started your show today.
Oh, yes, Dave. Just to back up real quick, I went to bed last night and I stepped on a pair of pants on the floor of the bedroom. They were not my pants, Dave. So I thought, you know what a good husband does? He doesn't complain. He doesn't say anything critical. He just leaves the pants where they are because the person who left the pants there will pick them up. And when my new bride came into the bedroom and found the pants on the floor, she got mad at me and I was scolded for not picking up the pants. And I said, but honey, they're your pants. You left them there. But I was supposed to pick them up, Dave.
Okay. Here's my comment.
Yes, sir.
Being a loyal listener. You're a loyal listener.
Thank you.
This is very difficult, Mike, but I'm going to caution you.
Okay.
I know you may not have read this book that came out decades ago, but I know, I'm willing to bet a ton of money. You know the title of the book. And it's Men Are From Mars.
Women Are From Venus.
Have a great day, Mike.
All right, Dave. Thank you. I know the book well, sir. Thank you. And listen, don't be shy about cautioning me or putting me in my place. We call each other on our crap on this show, and if I'm out of line, I expect you to tell me when I'm out of line. Mary, you're on Talkback. Good afternoon.
Oh, hi, Mike.
Hi, Mary.
Mike with a mic.
I am on a mic.
And I was biking with
Gary Chalk, your buddy Gary.
Yeah, I was biking.
You love Living Retired Thursdays at 10:30.
Oh, yeah, because I've been retired. However, I need a laugh.
Okay.
Anyway, I on your predicament, I'm thinking. Well, I was going to add up the number of married years I have, but I didn't get to doing that. However, it's been many years, and in my mind, it's kind of like damned if you do, damned if you don't. So I don't know if this went through your mind, but you might have been thinking, oh, if I move them and she comes in and she says, where are my pants gone? You'd be in double trouble. But you know what I'm saying? Like, it was kind of like, you weren't being mean. It's like if she came in and said, where the blazes are my pants? Do you know what I'm saying, Mike?
I know what you're saying, Mary.
I'm trying to support you.
Thank you.
But again, you're not perfect. And I'm sure your beloved is the most wonderful person in the whole wide world. But don't beat yourself up about this.
I'll try not to, Mary.
Kiss and make up.
Okay.
Kiss and make up.
Kiss and make up. I look forward to that.
Go to Marty's for wings.
I love this idea. This is getting better all the time.
Okay.
All right.
Bye, Mike.
Bye, Mary. Thank you. I'm going to go home and I'm going to tell my beloved I'm cooking dinner tonight. And I'm cooking it at Morty's Pub. Dallas, you're on Talkback. Good afternoon.
Yeah, well, actually, Mary stole my thunder because I was going to say the same thing. You're damned if you do and you're damned if you don't.
That's kind of the story of my life, yeah. Dallas, yeah.
I don't know how many years you were together prior.
We've been together 11 years.
11 years. Okay, so you're going to tell me you didn't have a spat like this somewhere within prior to getting married?
You know what, Dallas? The funny thing is, we didn't. This is the first time this particular sort of incident has I think, anyway. I don't know. This is the first one since we got married, though. 3 weeks in.
Well, fair enough. I've been listening to it. My dearly beloved that's not with me anymore, 25 years, I picked something up and put it away and said, Well, where'd that go? Why'd you move it? So, I don't know. But anyways, hang in there, my friend.
All right, Dallas, I will. Thank you very much. Appreciate any and all advice, as always. And your ideas, thoughts, concerns on Talkback. Every day from noon till 1 here on the Mike Farwell Show, 570 News Radio and Rogers TV. Talkback is your chance every day to do that very thing. Talk back at us, reflect on an issue that we discussed on the show today, bring something brand new entirely to the conversation. We're happy to hear from you and entertain it. Preston Paul, Farwell's Force member number 45. Good afternoon.
How's that dog house there, Mike?
Where were you, Paul? What's going on?
Oh, I just wanted to see how big your dog house was.
Well, I don't need a very big one, thankfully, because I'm a pretty small guy.
Right on.
Yep.
Maybe that was a sign for something else, Mike. You ever think of it that way?
I think I know where you're going, Paul, and I hope you're right.
Because, that might have been a good sign for better things ahead.
Was a little hint. Oh, Paul, you and I think alike, don't we?
We do.
Okay. Thanks, buddy. Good to hear from you today. I appreciate that. By the way, speaking of official Farwell's Force member, number 45 is Preston Paul. I got an email yesterday from Julie, who's a longtime listener. We've interacted a lot. She made a very generous donation, in fact, to Farwell for Hire in the last campaign. That's not the only reason I like her. We've had some very good interactions, and she just so happens to be the daughter of some local political royalty. But I'll leave that aside. Julie emailed me and said, well, what about an email force? We need to have emailers included in Farwell's Force. And look, I just want to be clear about this, okay? It kind of started as a goofy, fun sort of idea that took on a life of its own, which I absolutely love. But all you need, the only requirement to joining officially Farwell's Force, a force for good, a force for change, a force to be reckoned with. The only requirement of you is 15 minutes a day. You listen to this show for 15 minutes a day. You don't have to phone the show. You don't even have to email unless you want to email me and say, hey, I'm here at least 15 minutes every day. Give me a number. I want to be a part of the official Farwell's Force. Well, ding dang it. Gosh darn it. We're going to make you an official member. It's that simple. 15 minutes or more. I like the or more part. But if you're here 15 minutes a day, whether you phone, whether you email, it doesn't matter. We would love to make you a part of our growing force for good, for change, that force to be reckoned with. We are currently 178 members strong, and we'd love to add you to the list. So just drop me an email, Mike at 570news.com. We'll put your name right beside a number. That's what we'll do for Farwell's Force. Gary, good afternoon.
Hey, buddy. How are you?
This sounds like number 41.
Yep.
Attaboy, look at
that. I've been listening all morning, but I haven't had a chance to call in. But I'm going to tell you a quick little story. So I had to pick someone up, to shuttle them back to the dealership. And they got in the car, and I was listening to the program.
Good.
And it was in and around that time where the body snatcher story and all that.
Yeah.
So I was listening to it for a couple of minutes because it's not like I'm, it's just curious about, how people do these weird, wacky things, right? But anyway, so as we're driving back, she's got this look on her face, and I see her looking at me, and I thought, okay, I better change the channel.
You got to change to the jazz station or something.
Yeah. I had to put on some smooth jazz or something. But I was, I'm like, I'm going to miss the program. But I caught enough of it. And, there's a great show that I always watch called Forensic Files. It's just crazy the amount of different things that and stories of these people that are out there. And I know it was from the 1800s, but the one, episode that stuck out was when this gentleman, he had murdered his wife. And when they went to go to his house to question and look around the farm and stuff like that, when they walked through the front door, there he was eating a meatball and spaghetti dinner like nothing was going on, but the one officer could smell, something, and then, they later found out that he had buried her in the basement, and I'm just like, how can someone be sitting at a table eating a meatball and spaghetti dinner with nothing, like it didn't bother him? When they found the body and later looked into it, she had cancer, and she'd only have had 3 months to live. And I'm thinking, how sad is that? But, the karma behind that story. But that story was just fascinating from this morning. That's crazy.
All right.
Absolutely crazy.
Listen.
Anyway, Mike, have a great day. We'll talk to you soon.
Thanks, Gary. I'll just let it go that way. The story, if you missed it, the first Thursday of every month, 11 a.m., our friends from the City of Waterloo Museum join us for a Throwback Thursday. Today's story was about the infamous Dr. Johann Christ from back in the 1850s, 175 years ago in Waterloo. He was a body snatcher, got caught, had an accomplice, a fellow by the name of Verthman from Elmira. They get caught. They get 3 months in jail. That's it. 3-month sentence for digging up bodies from graves and doing who knows what. I mean, my goodness gracious, a creepy story from our community's history. And listen, Gary, you just got me thinking of something. When you talked about being in that shuttle, driving people around, to all of my friends who are working in the automotive industry and might have access to people's cars, like you're a mechanic, they drop the car off, whatever, for service. I know you don't want to be messing with people's vehicles, but this isn't much messing. Just change their radio station, please, to 570 News Radio. Make that the preset, so when they get back in the car, this is the station they're listening to, okay? Because it's cool. It's fine. It's okay if I give you permission to do that. Would you do that for me? Just a little favor for me. Yesterday when we had Rob Deutschman on the show, he's on every Wednesday morning at 11:30 for Political R&D, and we talked about the little trip we took last week to learn more about roundabouts and stuff. I got in his car a week ago in the afternoon. He's listening to satellite radio. I'm like, dude, you're on the station every week and you're listening to satellite. Well, at least it was after my show. That was allowed then. But to all my friends in automotive, change those presets for me. I want people, number one, to be 570 News Radio, okay? Appreciate you. Let's continue talk back. We got Jim with us. Afternoon, Jim.
Hey, how are you?
Good. How are you?
Not too bad, thanks.
Good.
A totally different topic here.
Sure.
But Canada's Wonderland. I was pretty disappointed with a recent visit there.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, we got seasons passes every single year. We go there. They offer the Halloween haunt. And this year we go, I'm from Cambridge, driving with traffic. It's a good 2-hour drive to get there. And we get up there and you get in. But then as soon as the Halloween haunt comes, now you're not allowed to go into their haunted houses anymore. We purchased our passes last year at the end of the season. And so basically I spoke with a manager when I was there who really didn't care at all. And basically just gave us we reserve the right to change the policies without notice. So they're sitting there with a bunch of kids, a couple families, and we're all disappointed because now they want us to pay like an extra $100 so that we can all get into the actual haunted houses that have been part of the membership for years and years.
Jim, I'm really sorry to hear of the disappointment. And listen, we do our very best to keep company names out of things like this. I certainly understand your gripe, and it sounds like you've got good grounds for it. And obviously, though it's not an answer that you like to hear, certainly the business does have the option of changing those terms, whether or not they need to do a better job of letting you know. I think that's certainly open for discussion. And naturally, it leaves you with the option of making a different decision when it comes to next year and you buy that season's pass. But I can completely understand that frustration. If only the setback was making that drive through that ridiculous traffic just to get there. And then I can only imagine the disappointment for the kids. And I have a feeling that by the time you got there and you put in all that effort, you did spring for the time to go into the haunted houses because that's what you went there for. So now you're out more money than you thought. It's disappointing for sure. And I hope you can get it sorted out with the company, which we always try to protect here on the show because we don't want to run afoul of anything. Talkback continues immediately after this update from the 570 News Center. Stay with us. It's the Mike Farwell Show, 570 News Radio and Rogers TV. Talkback is the time of day, noon to 1 every day. We open the phone lines and you talk back. Let's get right back to the calls. Paul, good afternoon.
Good afternoon. How you doing?
Hey, I'm doing all right. How are you?
Oh, I'm doing pretty good. I just figured I'd call in to let my haters know that I'm still out here, stalk you in the background and whatnot. Just sitting out in the bush enjoying life.
I've seen some of the pictures. You certainly do appear to be enjoying life, and good for you.
Yeah. Wanted to comment, as a former licensed motor vehicle mechanic, when I get into a customer's car, I do not change anything. I do not adjust the mirrors. I don't adjust the seats. Sometimes I got to struggle a little bit if they got the seat way back or too far forward. But I don't move anything, and I certainly don't change their radio stations. If anything, I might hit the mute button so that I could hear if there's any strange sounds or anything coming from the vehicle as I'm, moving it into the shop. But I do not go along with, changing any settings on anybody's car.
Come on, Paul, just for me. Come on.
Oh, listen.
I'm desperate here.
I'd love to set it to 570, but it's not my car. It's a customer's car, and like I say, sometimes I got to struggle a bit with seating and mirrors and whatnot. But I just drive very carefully instead of going and adjusting everything, and then they got to go and reset everything back. Of course, in a lot of cars nowadays, depending on what key fob you use to open the door, it automatically sets everything, including it sets it to your preferred radio station. But no, I just like I say, I try not to make any changes in the person's car. It gets me mad if I get in and I got to reset everything, mirrors and all that. But anyways, like I say, I'm just sitting out here in the bush, enjoying life. The little cool last night, but unfortunately, it's too warm during the day. I'd like it a little cooler.
No, it's just fine. Thank you. It's just fine.
Yeah. It wouldn't mind me if the ground was white instead of green.
Okay. Enough out of you. Enough. Enjoy the rest of your day in the warmth, Paul.
Yeah, I'm going to do that, and I'll be back next week.
All right. Sounds good. Good to hear from you today. And I fully respect not messing with a customer's vehicle. I was simply asking for a little bit of support here for the little old guy trying to make a living on AM radio in 2025. I mean, come on, you put somebody's station on 570, it's not going to hurt their radio. They might find something they like when they get back in the car, but respect. It reminds me, you talk about not messing with anything. Back in the day, like way before vehicles had all this newfangled technology. And by the way, I try to remember when I drop my vehicle off for service to put my seat all the way back, because Lord knows anybody else that gets into the car that I drive on a regular basis is going to smash their knees against the steering wheel because I'm so ding-dang short. I feel bad for them. So I always try to put the seat back. But as Paul says, a lot of times now you hit your key fob and your vehicle just sets up for you. You've got remote starters and all these different things. I grew up at a time you had to roll the window down manually, So what we would do for fun, again, cheap entertainment, we'd go into Dad's car and turn on the windshield wipers and crank the radio up full blast and anything we could mess with so that the next time he started the car, all HE double hockey sticks broke loose inside the vehicle. We thought this was hilarious. Can't do that stuff no more. You see what advances in technology have done? They've taken away all the fun from kids. Prina, Farwell's Force member number 147. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Mike. You did not take a golden opportunity to get in your beloved wife's good graces. What you should have done, this is just my thinking on the point, as a wife, she would have maybe, if you said, I picked up your pants for you. What would you like me to do with it? May I hang it up for you? Would you like me to put it in the laundry?
See, Prina, my thinking was if I don't say anything, then I'm just letting her know that I'm not bothered by this. Like, you could, if you want to leave pants on the floor, leave pants on the floor. I'm not going to complain.
No,
I thought that was the good thing.
I get it. But
Okay.
Mike, you missed a golden opportunity to just get yourself a whole bunch of kudos and bells and whistles.
Well, I've never been accused of being the smartest guy in the room, Prina, so I'm trying to learn.
No, I'm trying to give you some basic husband lessons here.
Thank you. Now, is that how Alan behaves? Is he well trained?
Alan, you hear? You're my dad.
All right. Well, thanks for the advice, Prina. I appreciate it.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Listen, I really did. As God is my witness, my intentions were most pure. I go into the bedroom last night. I actually step on it. What is this on the floor? Oh, it's a pair of pants. And they're not my pants because I know where my pants are. And so I just thought, you know what? If I complain about this, if I draw any attention to it, it's going to be like, oh, you're so hard to live with and whatever. So I'm just going to leave them right there. I mean, you left the pants there. You'll maybe you want the pants there. What do I know? What do I care? I don't care. And then I got myself in trouble for not picking up the pants. And I said, well, how can I be in trouble for not picking up the pants that I didn't leave on the floor? Anyway, I'm learning. I'll do better next time. And as my beloved was very quick to point out, do you know how much of your stuff I clean up every day? Listen, I am a hot mess at the best of times, okay? If I did not have that woman to keep me between the lines, forget about it. I would not be here with you right now. I promise you that. Lord knows where I'd be, because for every mile of road, there are 2 miles of ditch, as my good buddy Neil Aitchison likes to say, and I would be in the ditch without question. Afif, good afternoon.
Hey, good afternoon, Mike. You were saying you're really short, so you can barely get in the car.
Afif, you know what I would really like? I would like to be able to hear you better. I don't know what it is with you and your phone, my friend, but come on, help me out here.
All right, sorry. Can you hear me now?
It didn't change much, no.
I'll call you back.
Okay. Like, Afif, you're one of my favorite guys because you call so often, and I think your phone gets worse every single day. But I appreciate your support of the show, and please do take advantage of every opportunity you get to call the show. Just if you could get a better, I think in your case, it's not even connection, it's phone. You sound like you're a million miles away from it. Speaking of when you call in, I want to let you know about this because tomorrow's Friday, and Friday is full of the fun stuff, including your requests. The music we play tomorrow on the show is by request of you. And in keeping with our excitement and enthusiasm and support for the Toronto Blue Jays, your theme tomorrow on All Request Friday is blue. And I'll just leave that up to you completely. You figure out what blue means. Is blue in the band name? Is blue in the song name? I don't want to lead you into the garden or anywhere near the garden path. You are always creative. You always impress and astound me. So go ahead and do that. Your song requests tomorrow are blue songs. Okay, so when you call in today, let Josh know the song you want to hear tomorrow. Drop me an email to mike@570news.com, and we'll get your requests on tomorrow, as many as we can play blue songs for your All Request Friday tomorrow. Talkback continues this afternoon on the Mike Farwell Show, 570 News Radio and Rogers TV. The Talkback Hour is the hour during which we solicit your opinions. The faster I can answer the phones, the more of your thoughts we can hear. Sean, you get to go next. You're on Talkback. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. 165 here.
Farwell's Force member, number 165.
Geez, that was quick. Anyway, I got to admit to being a little baffled by your whole picking up the pants thing. Okay, maybe it's a cultural thing. I was raised in an English family, and if you see something, you do something. If it's on the floor, you pick it up. Doesn't matter who it is, if you live there, it's your responsibility. Like, if you live in a house, you see something on the floor, you pick it up. Doesn't matter. I mean, you don't say anything. You just do it. You know what I mean?
Well, yes, I do, Sean. But, I mean, I'm not the only one that lives in the house. I don't understand.
I know, but
Okay.
it's a partnership. She cleans up your stuff. You clean up her stuff. Doesn't matter.
I get it. That's exactly what she told me.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. I appreciate the support. Thank you.
Yeah.
All right. You just push me in the right direction. I sometimes need a little nudge. It's that simple. Afif, good afternoon.
Hey, good afternoon. Now can you hear me?
It's a little bit better, yeah.
All right. So what I was trying to say is, you said like, oh, I'm very short and I can barely fit in the car. Like you push your car seat all the way back.
Yeah, I move my car seat back because I am short, and if somebody else gets into the car, they're going to have a hard time.
Exactly. So my mom is like 4 foot, like 5 or something like that, and I'm 6 foot. So she's like, hey, can you go park my car? Whenever I have to get in the car, I can't move the car seat because she's like, don't move my car seat because I can't move it back. So then I have to basically put my seat all the way right to the actual thing and drive it into the driveway, which is almost impossible. But hey, that's the most hardest thing in the world. That's what happens.
Drive it with your knees, Afif. It'll be fine.
Oh, I try, and I've hit the curb one like a couple of times.
Of course.
For that reason.
All right. Well, thanks for the call, and I'm sorry about your dilemma. See, my beloved drives such a fancy car that there are different presets for different drivers. So you can always just get in, push the button, and then it'll set up for you, which I can't even wrap my head around. Good thing that we are, generally speaking, the same person height-wise, and I don't even have to move the car, because that's a lot for me to figure out. How do I program this and then put it in for setting number 2? But if you had something like that, Afif, imagine how much easier your mom's life would be instead of you and your 6-foot giant frame getting into her car and she has to try to figure it out afterwards, right? Bill, you're on Talkback. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Mike. Initially, I'd like to comment. I really thoroughly enjoy your conversations and your reports with the Kitchener Rangers. You have a boyish enthusiasm towards the game, and I really appreciate that.
Well, thank you very much for saying so. I love doing the job, and that's nice to hear.
And secondly, as regards to your request tomorrow, this is kind of a regards to David Drew as well. I know he's somewhat of a harmonic cat, so I was going to fuse the blues, the blue with the music, with the color blue with the music blues, and I would like to make a request in regards to him and me because I'm a harmonica player myself. I'd like to hear John Mayall, an album called From Blues Alone, and I'd like to hear. There's one song on there. It's a train and a harmonica, and boy, I would really appreciate hearing that. And Zoom, get on that train with the Blue Jays as well and the Kitchener Rangers.
All right, let me make sure I get this right now, Bill. It's John Mayall, and the song is what?
It's I'm not exactly precisely sure of the title, but it's a song, and it has a harmonica and a train on. He plays harmonica with a train going by. John Mayall, he's 90-year-old. He's the godfather of British blues. I'm sure David Drew is acquainted with his name, him and Paul Butterfield and guys like that. So I think that would be really something mutual for both of us, and Blue Jays and Rangers, and we'll get on that train and ride it through.
All right, Bill, thank you very much. I love it because that's the whole idea here, right, is to get on that Blue Jays train and support our Blue Jays as they open the American League Divisional Series on Saturday. So tomorrow, all request Friday, your requests must be blue. And I'll just let you figure it out from there. Maybe it's the artist's name. Maybe it's the song title. It's up to you. Blue is the theme for all request Friday tomorrow. And we want to get on that train to help the Blue Jays, Kitchener Rangers. Listen, I'll talk about this real quick because Bill brought them up. And the Rangers playing tomorrow night, of course. They're playing the same team that has handed them their only loss so far this season, the Owen Sound Attack. We were in Owen Sound last Saturday. The Attack won 5-2. Now the Attack come to our town, and the Kitchener Rangers get a chance to avenge that loss last week. I think we're in for a dandy hockey match tomorrow night at the Kitchener Memorial Auditorium. So why don't you find yourself a ticket and join us at the game. And if you can't, though, of course, we've got you covered right here on 570 News Radio. You can even, if you want to, like, do sort of the old-fashioned thing and listen to the game with a little transistor radio and an earpiece while you're at the game. You could do that. But either way, if you can't make it, Josh Piercy and I have you covered right here on 570 News Radio. And we'll start our pregame coverage brought to you by Harris Law at 6:30 tomorrow night. Rangers attack after that. And believe it or not, and Josh and I will stay late after the game taking your calls on the post-game show. Believe it or not, that's the only Rangers game this weekend. We just play tomorrow night. That's because we're getting set for a long week ahead. We're heading up to Flint and then Sault Ste. Marie and then Saginaw on a long northern road trip next week. So Larry Fedorik's going to be filling in on this show while I'm gone, and we'll bring you all of the Rangers action from the road next week. But the next game, and the one to remember, tomorrow night versus Owen Sound. I'm not sure if you have heard, I just became aware of it listening to a news conference with Ontario Premier Doug Ford the other day. What's today? Thursday. So this was Tuesday. He was in Hamilton making an announcement. And then after the announcement, there is time for questions from reporters. And I had not been aware until I heard this question of Project Ontario. Have you heard of Project Ontario? Essentially, this is a group of conservatives who do not believe Ontario Premier Doug Ford is conservative enough, if you will. He is a progressive conservative. That's the banner he ran under and was elected under. But this group of conservatives with Project Ontario don't think that Premier Ford is conservative enough. And I would liken this to New Leaf Liberals that were saying, hey, we need new leadership with the Ontario Liberal Party. And New Leaf Liberals kind of got their way. Bonnie Crombie out. Search for a new leader is underway. I don't know that Project Ontario wants Doug Ford replaced. I just think they're saying, hey, we don't think this is a conservative enough approach to governing the province of Ontario. But here's what I learned, thanks to the question from Laura Stone at the Globe and Mail.
And just on another topic, on this Project Ontario group, they're having a meeting tomorrow night. They're pushing for smaller government. They say you don't have the will to kind of do what it takes to really cut down. They're also looking for more private healthcare option, different options for independent schools. You've always said you're open to ideas from various political parties. Are you open to any of their ideas?
I don't even know who these guys are. They sound like a bunch of radical rights. Folks, I'm not in favor of the radical left and the radical right. This government of Ontario or in Canada, we're prudent fiscal managers, first of all. I'm tough on crime. I'm a prudent fiscal manager. I don't know who these yahoos are. It sounds like some radical right group, probably tied to maybe a federal party or something. I don't have a clue. Who knows who they're tied to? And I really don't care, to be honest with you. I don't even know who these guys are. I'm going to focus on our agenda, protecting the people, protecting the economy, creating more jobs, building infrastructure, building the healthcare system. That's what I'm focused on.
That's Politics 101 right there. Bring it back around to what you want to say, not what the question asked you to say. Don't even know who these yahoos are. And I'm a prudent fiscal manager. I may quibble on that point, good sir. But anyway, Project Ontario has some ideas that would like to see Premier Ford adopt, but it doesn't sound as though Premier Ford is interested in adopting them. Jason, you're going to get the last word on Talkback. Good afternoon.
Mikey. Hey, I wish the Premier would have mentioned that they want to fund the Ontario post-secondary institutions like they should be doing, as opposed to having them close. My former college, Georgian College up in Orillia, unfortunately announced last week that they'll be closing after almost 50 years of serving the community up there in Orillia. Great programs up there. My wife works at Conestoga. She's obviously currently on strike. But we need to fund our post-secondary educations if we want smart, responsible people to lead our next generation of whether it's politicians or businesses. And so we need to fund our post-secondary educations like we used to and like we need to.
That's, you know what? It's a great point. And I got to leave you on that point because I am fresh out of time, but nice tie-in to Project Ontario and the comments from Doug Ford. Now you know with Rob Snow is coming up. Friday is looming for us. We're going to have lots of fun on the show tomorrow, including the Coaches Show, the Friday 4 Roundtable, Free Phones Friday, and good news stories all around. My name is Mike Farwell. You are a force for good. Bye for now.